Justin, Hailey, Justin, over here, look. That's the sound of the paparazzi catching Justin and Hailey Bieber's worst moments ever. Starting off with the time Justin Bieber was accused of yelling at Hailey in front of the paparazzo. A video showing Justin Bieber talking passionately at his wife Hailey during a trip to Las Vegas went viral on TikTok. In the video, the couple can be seen walking through a hotel with Justin throwing his hands in the air and kind of inaudibly yelling at Hailey while surrounded by their entourage. Now, while the video in question has now been taken down on TikTok, it swiftly amassed over 1 million views and is still making the rounds on Twitter. Initially, many fans assumed from Justin's body language that he was aggressively shouting at Hailey and tweeted in support of her. One person questioned why Justin was yelling at Hailey like she's a child in public, while another person said that, to casual viewers of the video, it appeared he was angry and yelling. However, a series of people who claim to have witnessed the event have suggested that Justin wasn't yelling at Hailey, but was simply just hyped up from his performance. One alleged bystander said, "He was not yelling, and we were there to witness what went down. He was all adrenaline. It doesn't matter, how it appears to you. Don't spread false information on someone, especially when you acknowledge, what it appears to just be you thinking that." Now, that's defamation of character. One person shared a video of Justin's performance to show his nature on stage, tweeting, "I took this of Justin right before that video was taken. He was on straight adrenaline from performing. He wasn't mad at Hailey and he wasn't yelling at her. I hate how he's always painted as the bad guy when he's the furthest thing from it." Many pointed out that the couple were holding hands in the video, suggesting that they weren't arguing at all. And the couple appeared to be happily reflecting on their weekend shortly after arriving home from the trip when Justin posted a Vegas show recap on Instagram, which Hailey swiftly reshared with the caption, "Best weekend ever." Justin Bieber reaches his absolute breaking point with paparazzi in Palm Springs ahead of Coachella. Now, Justin Bieber went on a wild, unprovoked tirade against the paparazzi while heading into a coffee shop with friends. In a video that went absolutely viral recently, the singer, who was in Palm Springs, California ahead of weekend one of Coachella, immediately covered his face when he noticed photographers with their cameras and phones recording him. One photographer said to Bieber, "Good morning," to which Justin replied, "No, not good morning. You already know. Why are you here?" The pop star then walked over to the paps and told them that they just want money. He said, "Money, money, 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 money." He repeated that while making, the pay me gesture with his fingers. He said, "Get out of here, bro. Money, that's all you guys want. You don't care about human beings." So he shouted that while covering, a man's phone from recording him. He then told them all to leave, but not before saying, "That's all you guys care about. It's money. You don't care about people, only money. You don't care about human beings at all." As the photographers backed up from the coffee shop, he then turned around and walked into the eatery with his friends. Hailey Bieber got really mad when she was mistaken for Gigi Hadid while out with Kendall Jenner at Fred Segal. Now, in the video clip that has circulated online everywhere basically, you can see the paparazzi standing outside watching as Kendall Jenner and Hailey Bieber walk towards what appears to be Kendall's car. Kendall is seen walking towards the car a few steps ahead of Hailey, and one paparazzo asked, "Gigi, who is your new boyfriend after Joe Jonas?" To which Hailey very embarrassing says something like, "I'm not Gigi." Another brave and bold paparazzi person said, "Hailey, are you upset that Justin Bieber is back with Selena?" To which Hailey just shakes her head. The funniest part about all of this though is that after Hailey says she's not Gigi, the same paparazzo says, "Bella?" like as in her sister. This hilarious moment caught on camera is a true testament to the things people have said all along. No one really knew who Hailey was until she literally became Justin Bieber's wife. Justin Bieber accused paparazzi of shooting upskirt shots of Hailey. Now, Justin Bieber publicly confronted paparazzi for allegedly taking upskirt photos of his wife, Hailey Baldwin, during a night out in West Hollywood. The couple went out to the Nice Guy restaurant and lounge in West Hollywood. Later, while exiting the club and entering a private bus, paparazzi swarmed the couple, quickly snapping photos, much to Justin's dismay. Now, after they entered and the doors started closing, the singer turned around, opened the doors, and confronted the photographers. Bieber expressed his concern and felt the photographers were intentionally trying to embarrass Hailey. Calm, but a bit annoyed, he asked, "Are you guys shooting underneath her skirt?" The photographers rushed to their defense, saying, "Oh my God, please, Justin," said one of them. Another one asked, "Why would someone shoot under her skirt?" Justin replied, "That's the question, right?" While one photographer basically wondered, "Why would we do that?" Another one said, "Come on, bro, look at the videos. Hey, bro, I hope you have a good night, man. Bro, no one would do that, brother." A source involved in the incident said that no one was trying to get any up the skirt photos. The insider noted that while photographers had to go underneath a curtain barrier set up on the sidewalk to get any shots of the couple, there was no intention of an underskirt shot. He felt the photographers were intentionally trying to just embarrass her, and he actually found that their behavior was quite disrespectful and invasive, especially for women. Justin Bieber slammed the car door in his wife's face while arriving at Zinc Cafe. A couple that works out issues together stays together, but that doesn't seem to be the case for Justin and Hailey Bieber. This is evident in a clip where Justin seems to slam the car door right in Hailey's face. Now in this clip, Justin really appears to be in his own world and operates almost as if Hailey doesn't exist. When Justin gets out of the car, he slams the door in Hailey's face and walks aggressively forward with his head tilted downward and his lips pursed shut. Now a body language expert spoke on this incident and said his body language communicates anger and unhappiness and appears as if he's so consumed by his emotions that he doesn't even realize Hailey is behind him when he slams the door on her. Hailey, on the other hand, tried to play it cool, seemingly aware that all eyes were on them. It's as if, she wasn't fazed at all, but according to the expert, this might just mean she's used to brushing off this kind of behavior. The expert said, interestingly, Hailey exits the car in a relaxed manner with a calm face, her body language indicating that she's not surprised by his behavior and perhaps is used to it. Now, based on the couple's body language in this clip, it's possible that when Justin is feeling emotional, he unintentionally ignores Hailey or keeps her at a distance. Honestly, I have secondhand embarrassment for her. Justin Bieber snapped at fans who were camped outside his home. When he approached the fans, he abruptly said, "This is not a hotel, guys, it's my home." He later posted on Instagram saying, "How do you convince yourself it's not completely inappropriate and disrespectful to wait outside my home to gawk, stare, and take pictures as I walk into my apartment?" Now the question, which featured no additional information or context at all, it was followed by a pic basically commemorating his Billboard Music Award win for 10,000 Hours with Dan and Shay, which, picked up top country song. Bieber does actually have reason though to be paranoid about people kind of loitering outside the homes that he shares with Hailey, because he's had a number of individuals make their way onto his property in the recent years. Justin Bieber and Hailey Baldwin get into a heated argument at hot yoga. Now Justin Bieber and Hailey got very testy with each other when they went to hot yoga. Perhaps the 100-degree temperature got to them, maybe. Justin appeared to be upset as the couple left the yoga studio. Hailey was hiding her face, perhaps to shield from showing tears. Now Hailey was wearing a really cute neon yellow ensemble, biker shorts, and a sports bra. Now the couple left the Beverly Hills studio in their Lamborghini SUV to head home. Later that evening, Justin went for a late night ride on his motorcycle to clear his head after the fight. Justin Bieber ditched Hailey on a skateboard and she fell trying to catch up with him in Times Square. A few years back when they were in New York, they were leaving a venue at Times Square when Justin got escorted through a barricade to leave the huge crowd surrounding them. He actually crawled through the small space to go onto the street and then quickly hopped on his skateboard and just kind of skated off. Either he forgot Hailey was behind him or he just didn't care, because Hailey then rushed to go catch up to him. She also crawled through that tiny space, but she started tripping on herself and tripped on her way out and ended up falling down completely. You can hear someone in the background saying, "Hailey, oh, don't fall." And then, of course, she fell. She did embarrassingly quickly get back up on her feet and she began to literally run after him. People online couldn't stop watching the video footage of it and took to social media to say that Justin could honestly just care less about her, and just how embarrassing it is for Hailey to literally be chasing him around all over the city like that. It still kind of lives rent-free in our minds. It probably does in hers too. First up, James Corden. The talk show host was banned from Balthazar, a popular New York City restaurant, for his alleged mistreatment of the staff that worked there. The restaurant's owner publicly called him out for his rude behavior, describing him as like the most horrific customer in the restaurant's history. He explained in an Instagram post that on one occasion, Corden was very nasty to the staff after he found a hair in his food, and that on another occasion he flipped out on the server when they messed up his wife's order. The hair in the food moment, yeah, gross. Basically what happened was that Corden showed a hair to the manager after his meal. He allegedly demanded free drinks and threatened to write a bad Yelp review. Corden was also angry when his wife was served an omelet with egg white in it, and then again when it was remade with home fries instead of a salad. The internet, of course, course, had a field day with this one, and the ban was later rescinded after Corden actually apologized. Corden admitted to being ungrateful to a server, and he called the ban silly and said he still doesn't feel like he did anything too wrong. He also addressed the incident on The Late Late Show. He said, as some of you, may have seen last week, there were stories about me being banned from a restaurant. He explained that after the owner took to Instagram to share the incident, he thought about doing so himself, but decided to have a more British approach to it all and kept calm and carried on. He continued to say, but as my dad pointed out to me, he said, son, well, you did complain, so you might need to explain. Look, when you make a mistake, you've got to take responsibility. He followed that by explaining his recollection of the events that night and said he has a deep love for that restaurant and that his wife apparently just has a really bad allergy. And considering the servers got the order wrong like 3 times, that he was frustrated. He said his comments were meant to be sarcastic, but they were rude and he regretted it deeply. He said the managers were actually quite lovely about everything and even brought some champagne to the table. The incident highlighted the scrutiny celebrities face regarding their behavior in public. Hugh Grant is next. In Paul King's Paddington 2, Hugh Grant played an egocentric actor named Phoenix Buchanan, a greedy villain given to flights of narcissism. Given what Jon Stewart has said about Grant, it might not have been a stretch for him to play such a character. Grant had a bad reputation and has been taken to task by the press several times in the past for losing his temper on set. Most recently, Grant was actually reported to have yelled very harshly at a woman on the set of Dungeons and Dragons. He assumed that the woman was, a visiting executive and he was infuriated by her demands. As it turns out, the woman was an on-set chaperone for one of the film's child actors and certainly didn't deserve the attack. Now, back in 2012, however, Grant already recognized this about himself. In a 2015 interview with Vanity Fair, he admitted to throwing a tantrum backstage on The Daily Show right in front of the host Jon Stewart. He confessed saying, I did have a tantrum backstage about once a year. I have a really mega tantrum. And sadly, he witnessed one. In between tantrums, Grant seems to be decent, but he also regularly appears to be in a position where he becomes inexclusively, angry and makes unreasonable demands, of his coworkers. Of course, this was after Stewart had already called the actor out while being interviewed by Stephen Colbert live on stage at the Wellmont Theater in New Jersey. Now, according to the Daily Show host, Grant was like the worst guest he had ever had on his series, and that included some of the political monsters and dictators that he has, deliberately hosted. Miley Cyrus is banned from performing in the Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic Government Commission that oversees public performances banned a concert by Miley Cyrus on morality grounds. The commission said in a statement that it took the action because Cyrus often, undertakes acts that go against morals and customs, which are punishable by Dominican law. Some critics have declared Cyrus's on-stage antics, including twerking and, doing other stuff, as vulgar. Now, Miley Cyrus's twerking has been deemed too offensive for the Dominican Republic government. The singer's Bangers World Tour, sees her actually wearing like a cannabis pattern leotard. Cyrus has also previously, smoked cannabis on stage, which is an illegal act in the Dominican Republic. So in the past, the commission has banned songs it considered vulgar from the country's airwaves. A representative for Cyrus did not immediately respond to a request for comment, and concert, organizers in the Dominican Republic didn't comment on the ban either. Madonna is up. The Alamo Drafthouse movie theater chain has banned Madonna from its theaters after reports that the Queen of Pop was texting during a New York Film Festival screening of 12 Years a Slave. Her Majesty attended the festival screening of Fox Searchlight's Oscar hopeful, posing for photos with director Steve McQueen. Now, during the film though, she was reportedly texting and lashed out at a fellow audience member who tried to get her to stop. According to several outlets, film critic Charles Taylor shared the following story from an audience member at that screening. It said, tonight at the New York Film Festival premiere of 12 Years a Slave, I sat behind the unholy trifecta of Jason Ritter, Jay Alexander from America's Next Top Model, and Michael K. Williams from The Wire. Plus, a very mysterious blonde in black laced gloves who wouldn't stop texting on her BlackBerry throughout the first half of the movie. Eventually, a woman next to me tapped her on the shoulder and told her to put her phone away. The blonde hissed back, "It's for business, enslavers." I turned to the shoulder tapper and loudly said thanks and gave her a thumbs up. The rest of the movie, I kept thinking about how I wanted to tell the blonde what a disgrace she was. During the standing ovation, the blonde ducked out and Jason Ritter turned around to make commiserating eye contact as Jay Alexander asked, "Who was that?" Jason then looked down at the floor. His eyes got wide and he picked up an envelope and it showed it to us, Jay, and it said 2 screening tickets, Madonna. And sure enough, we looked to the side of the theater and standing against the wall in black lace gloves was Madonna, the worst person in America. The Draft House chain has had a strict no talking and no texting policy and will eject, people who violate it. So when founder and CEO Tim Lee read reports of Madonna's behavior, he tweeted a tweet that said, "Until she apologizes to movie fans, Madonna is banned from watching movies here." Now, it's unclear if Madonna ever apologized, but honestly, I doubt she cares. Last on my list, I got Janet Jackson, sister to late Michael and queen of not apologizing. Janet Jackson says she was disinvited from the 2004 Grammys after her wardrobe malfunction scandal with Justin Timberlake at their Super Bowl halftime show that same year. In her documentary titled Janet, the singer reveals she was asked not to come back to the Grammy Awards after Timberlake accidentally stripped her during a Super Bowl performance. Now, on February 1st, 2004, a wardrobe malfunction occurred on stage at the annual NFL Championship. It might have seemed innocent enough, but the infamous moment had devastating consequences on Jackson's career. Jackson was on stage performing, a medley of her hits when fellow pop star Timberlake made a surprise appearance to perform a duet. The pair sang Timberlake's hit Rock Your Body when, at the final line of the song, the former NSYNC member actually pulled off a part of Jackson's costume. Timberlake was supposed to pull away the bustier to reveal a red lace bra. Instead, the garment malfunctioned and the singer exposed Jackson's bare chest instead. Now, the Together Again singer's chest was broadcast to the world with only a small shield to cover her modesty. It was shown for less than 1 second before CBS cut the shot. Though it was, mere milliseconds, Jackson's, partial nudity triggered a wave of outrage across conservative America. It was aired to an audience of around 150 million viewers around the world, and the Federal Communications Commission received more than 500,000 complaints about the performance. The public pearl clutching over Jackson's chest would almost end her career. Janet's ex-boyfriend at the time, Jermaine Dupri, also added, that he quit his role as a member of the Grammys board, after he learned of the injustice. Janet and Dupri actually dated from 2002 to 2009, and he said, "I felt like they were disrespectful to Janet and I resigned at that point." Previously, the Huffington Post reported that Timberlake was allowed to perform after he tearfully apologized for the incident. The CBS chief executive, according to sources, was furious that Jackson didn't make an apology to him. Consequently, Jackson's music career began to suffer. Her songs and music videos were blacklisted from MTV and CBS as per the instruction of parent company Viacom. Now, the cultural impact of Jackson and Timberlake's performance was monumental. The inventors of YouTube even credited the incident, as one of the reasons they launched the platform. The moment also triggered a years-long debate and culture war about, misogyny and the unfair treatment of Jackson. Justin Bieber got kicked out of Coachella. This will be etched in the memories of music fans for years to come. Justin Bieber, who was just 21 years old at the time, had been attending the festival with his then girlfriend Hailey Baldwin. Bieber attempted to watch a performance by his friend and Six God Drake from the artist's VIP area. According to reports, Bieber had not been given the proper credentials to access the VIP area, and when he tried to enter, he was stopped by security. What happened next is somewhat disputed, but it's reported that Bieber became belligerent and argumentative with the security guards, refusing to leave the area. The situation allegedly escalated to the point where Bieber was physically removed from the festival grounds by security personnel. A video of him getting thrown out started circulating and people couldn't get enough of it. The incident was widely reported in the media, with many outlets publishing photos and videos of Bieber being escorted out of the festival. He was literally put into a chokehold before getting thrown into, the curb. Not even an army of believers could protect Justin from it. Bieber told the guards that he had been personally invited to the show by Drake, a fellow Canadian, and got into an argument with the Coachella staff. Sources told the gossip site that Coachella security put Bieber in that chokehold during the argument in order to get him out. Anyway, the Coachella incident sparked a heated debate among fans and critics, with some defending Bieber's behavior as, a justified response to overly aggressive security, while others condemned his actions as entitled and disrespectful. In the aftermath of the incident, Bieber took to social media to apologize for for his behavior, saying he had, let his emotions get the best of him and promised to just do better in the future. The incident marked a turning point in Bieber's career as he began to transform from his teenage heartthrob image to a more mature and introspective artist. In the years since, Bieber has spoken publicly about his struggles with fame, mental health, and substance dependency issues, and has used his platform to advocate for social justice and awareness. Justin Bieber got kicked out of a Miami Beach nightclub in 2014. Justin Bieber was involved in an incident at a Miami Beach nightclub called Live Nightclub. Live Nightclub is a popular nightlife destination in Miami Beach known for its high-end atmosphere and celebrity clientele. On the night of January 23rd, Bieber was in town for a concert and decided to visit the club with his entourage. According to eyewitnesses, Bieber and his group arrived at the club around 2 a.m. and were escorted to a VIP table. However, things quickly took a turn. Bieber allegedly became belligerent and started arguing with the club's staff and security. The exact details of the dispute are kind of unclear, but it's reported and alleged that Bieber was presented with a $10,000 tab for his group's drinks and bottle service. Bieber allegedly refused to pay the bill, claiming that he had already paid for the drinks and that the club was trying to kind of rip him off. Ew, it's kind of giving broke. But no, for real, if I ever rack up a $10,000 tab at a bar or club, call the police on me and send me to AA. The situation escalated when Bieber's entourage got into a confrontation with the club's security personnel. Witnesses described the scenes as chaotic, with Bieber's friends and bodyguards basically pushing and shoving the security guards. Eventually, the club's management had had enough and decided to kick Bieber to the curb and out of the club. Now, legend has it that someone asked, so like, how are you gonna hate from outside of the club when you can't even get in? Anyway, witnesses reported that Bieber was visibly intoxicated, stumbled out of the club surrounded by his friends and bodyguards. The incident made headlines the next day and, many outlets reporting on Bieber's behavior. The club's management later released a statement saying that Bieber had been kicked out for just being unruly and disrespectful to the staff and other patrons. The incident was just one of several controversies that Bieber was involved in during 2014. The incident led to widespread criticism, with many fans and critics just expressing concerns about his well-being and maturity. Justin Bieber got kicked out of a Paris hotel in 2013. On December 17, 2013, Justin Bieber was involved in an incident at a very luxurious Le Royal Maison Raffles Hotel in Paris, France. Le Royal Maison Raffles, if I'm pronouncing that right, is a 5-star hotel located in the heart of Paris. Bieber was staying at the hotel while on tour in Europe, and according to some sources, Bieber and his entourage arrived at the hotel around 3 a.m. after a night out in the city. However, things went sideways when Bieber allegedly became confrontational and started arguing with the hotel staff and security personnel. The exact details of the incident are slightly unclear, but it's alleged that Bieber was given a warning by hotel staff about the noise level coming from his room. Bieber allegedly refused to comply and continued to make noise, prompting the staff to call security. Witnesses described the incident as loud, scary, and threatening, with Bieber's friends and bodyguards getting a little too handsy with the staff. Eventually, the hotel's management had just had enough, decided to kick Bieber and his entourage out of the hotel. Now, witnesses reported that Bieber was visibly upset and stormed out of the hotel surrounded by his friends and bodyguards. The incident made headlines the next day, of course, with many outlets reporting on Bieber's, horrible behavior. The hotel's management later released a statement just saying that Bieber had been kicked out for being rude, distasteful, and hostile towards the staff and crew there. This whole story is a little disputed though, because some claims are that Bieber didn't get kicked out, and instead he actually left on his own account because they were lacking security there. Apparently hundreds of fans gathered outside and inside the lobby of the hotel, and the hotel wasn't prepared for that, which is kind of weird because like in 2013, Bieber was basically like, he was it. He was the superstar. You would think they would have been over prepared. Anyway, according to this account, guests were super unhappy that there was so much noise coming from fans. Allegedly, Bieber even encouraged the fans. A source said there were kids everywhere screaming and shouting, and the other guests just didn't like it. I mean, this particular hotel apparently has hosted a lot of big names, including the likes of Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, and even the royal family. So again, why were they not prepared? Justin Bieber got kicked out of a Rio de Janeiro nightclub in 2013. Bieber was in there for a concert, basically as part of his Believe tour. After the show, he decided to visit a local nightclub called Centauros. According to eyewitnesses, Bieber arrived at the club around 2 a.m. and was escorted to the VIP area. Bieber allegedly became involved in an altercation with a photographer who was trying to take his picture. Of course, it's alleged that Bieber became agitated when the photographer refused to stop taking his picture. Bieber allegedly then punched the photographer in the face, causing a scene, and the situation escalated when the club's security personnel intervened to try and break up the fight. Bieber allegedly resisted and became combative with the guards. Now eventually Bieber just got kicked out. Witnesses reported that Bieber was visibly upset and just stormed out of the club, kind of yapping on his way out. The incident made headlines the very next day, with many outlets reporting on Bieber's brawl. Now at first it was suspected that this club was actually a brothel, and Bieber was seen leaving with 2 females when he got kicked out, but it was later revealed that it's not a brothel and more of an old-fashioned gentleman's club, which kind of sounds the same. Their words, not mine, okay? So 2013 was just a wild time for young Bieber. Last up, Justin Bieber was kicked out of a New York City nightclub on November 4th, 2012. Justin Bieber was involved in an incident at a nightclub in New York City. Bieber was 18 years old at the time and was visiting New York basically for a concert. After the show, he decided to visit a nightclub called Laveau. According to sources that were there, Bieber arrived at the club around 1 a.m. and was escorted to the VIP area. Bieber allegedly became involved in an altercation with a club goer who was just trying to take his photo. It's reported that Bieber became annoyed when the club goer refused to stop taking his picture. Bieber allegedly pushed the club goer, causing a huge scene, of course, and this situation escalated when the club's security intervened to try and break up the fight. Bieber allegedly resisted and became very combative with the security guards. Eventually, he was just told to leave and basically was kicked out of the club. Again, the incident made headlines the next day, of course. This was just another moment in that year where it had everyone talking about just how immature Justin was. But I mean, he was very young, so can we really blame him? Justin's, a full-blown adult now, so hopefully we don't see headlines like this for 2025, but what do you guys think? Is he due for a public kickout or meltdown? Will he stay low-key this year? Let me know.
Would you have the courage to call Beyonce stupid to her face? One man certainly had no issue doing that when he refused to allow the singer on a tour of the Egyptian pyramids and even allegedly banned her from ever returning. It was a whole thing, so stick around for the details. The man in question was Dr. Zahi Hawass. He is a popular tour guide as he knows the pyramids very, very well. For years, he's been the Minister of Tourism and Antiquities of Egypt. He campaigns for stolen Egyptian artifacts, and he is, in general, an archaeologist, described by many as Indiana Jones. It's clear the man knows what he's talking about when it comes to the ancient Egyptians, and who wouldn't want a personal tour led by Indiana Jones? He does have another popular unofficial nickname, which is Gatekeeper of the Pyramids. Though this might not be official, he has no problem exercising his right to ban those he deems unworthy of the space, and that list shockingly added Beyonce's name back in 2013. Dr. Hawass said he found the singer rude after she allegedly showed up late to their meeting, and then there was a disagreement over photography. The doctor claimed that he and the artist had agreed to meet at 3 p.m., but Beyonce showed up after that. When he requested an apology, apparently the artist, in his words, didn't open her mouth. Now, that wasn't enough for him to just refuse the tour right then. There was another incident that really created the problems. Beyonce, of course, had a guard with her for safety reasons, but in addition to them, apparently brought a photographer as well because she wanted to do a goddess-themed photo shoot while there. The thing is, the doctor also brought a photographer, and this seemed to be a bit of a problem. He claims that when his photographer started taking pictures, Beyonce's guard attempted to stop them, and it resulted in some pushing and almost having their camera taken away. This incident pushed the doctor's anger over the edge, and therefore the star lost her spot on his tour. That, plus she was also allegedly being rude. His send-off to the star was something not many people can say they've done before. Apparently, he said Beyonce was stupid and then just left. There is also the matter that Beyonce had shown up in all white because she was having a goddess-themed shoot. Dr. Hawass even asked her when she arrived if she was trying to be Cleopatra, which Beyonce actually found funny. Of course, anyone allegedly getting banned from an ancient historical site would be a big deal, but when that person is international music artist Beyonce, there's going to be headline upon headline. Of course, news of Beyonce's banning made it back to her team, so we do have a response from the artist, and it just made the whole situation a little bit stranger. According to her team, this incident never happened, and said the whole thing was lies and more lies. Hey, even if the incident did happen, it definitely didn't take place in 2013 like the initial article suggested. Beyonce's statement shared that the last time the singer had been in Egypt was in 2009, and there are photos of her there at that time. When this Beyonce ban news, which was originally reported by the UK news site Independent back in November of 2013, the article made it sound like this incident had happened very recently, but that wasn't the whole truth. Dr. Howes is a pretty controversial character on his own, without getting into too many details, once calling those with opposing theories pyramidiates? No, oh my god, pyramidiates. Yeah, sure. Once calling those with opposing theories pyramidiates, and I will admit, that's kind of funny, no notes there, extra points for creativity. Anyways, he was widely celebrated for his efforts in the archaeology world, but he was also deemed to be very controlling and overbearing, even egotistical by some. It appears that in a 2013 interview, the man was simply reminiscing on his past encounter with Beyonce from 2009, and if the account is true, it's certainly eventful enough to remember after all this time. Though this alleged incident didn't take place in the year the Independent article came out, accounts from 2009, they do exist. E! News reported that locals spoke to the press at the time. One journalist got the statement that the doctor did get angry with the singer and stopped being diplomatic. This account also claimed that he called Beyonce a stupid person that didn't understand anything, or that she just didn't want to understand anything. Either way, the pair clearly did not end their interaction well. It's unclear how Beyonce responded to the insults against her. Maybe they were said after the pair had separated, who knows. Despite the alleged rough end to the tour, things clearly started well enough as the pair were pictured together in front of the Sphinx reading from a book. Beyonce even made her way into one of the pyramids and sang Ave Maria. She said it was the clearest acoustic she's ever heard, and she could have stayed there forever. I mean, if she really is banned, that would cause a problem. Despite not making overly public returns to the country, Beyonce has used Egyptian mythology and symbolism in her shows and performances since. People are saying Beyonce has been kicked out of the country music scene despite the success of her latest album, Cowboy Carter. After winning the Grammy for Best Country Album and Album of the Year this year, Beyonce has been attacked from all angles. From those that didn't like the album, to those that did, but just didn't think this was Beyonce's best work. The singer has probably heard it all. A lot of people are just angry with the star for taking on the country genre in the first place. Beyonce, for a long time, has been primarily an R&B, pop, hip-hop artist. Cowboy Carter was her big jump in the country music scene, but not the first time she's tried it out. People are very upset that Beyonce seemingly tries out a genre and then wins everything for it. It does look odd. If you aren't aware of her country music roots, it would seem like she's just trying out genres to have a little bit of everything in her music library. Those that have really taken the theories far, though, even accuse award shows of being rigged so Beyonce can have an award for every genre. But again, Cowboy Carter might be Beyonce's first full country piece, but it's not the first time she's expressed a love for the genre. On her 2016 album Lemonade, she released the country-leaning track Daddy Lessons. In 2007, a rumor was circulating that Beyonce's next album was going to be all country. It turned out that it really wasn't. Her next album was I Am Sasha Fierce, but the rumor likely came from the fact that Beyonce had spoken out about her love for country music and the fact that she had recently done a country rendition of her song Irreplaceable at the AMAs with country artist Sugarland. Truly, it was a matter of time though before she was going to come out with a Cowboy Carter. I mean, Beyonce was born and raised in Houston, Texas. Country music is in your bones. In 2024, the Country Music Awards shocked everyone though when they didn't award Beyonce with any awards or even nominations. People weren't exactly being shy about their distaste for her taking on the genre, but outright refusing to acknowledge the impact her album had was another thing entirely. Beyonce's song Texas Hold'em was huge. The Bayhive was hopeful that Beyonce would become the first black woman to get shortlisted for Album of the Year. Of course, that didn't happen in the end. Not to say that those that were nominated were undeserving, because many great country albums have been released last year, but what's interesting is that the CMAs might have had a hand in the creation of the very album that they ended up snubbing. In 2016, Beyonce performed her song Daddy Lessons at the CMAs with the Chicks, formerly known as Dixie Chicks. The performance was widely criticized. Lead singer of the Chicks, Natalie Maines, even spoke out about the treatment Beyonce was subject to after, calling it disgusting. Beyonce was the one in the end to connect the 2016 show to the 2024 album. In an Instagram post about Cowboy Carter, Beyonce wrote that the album was born out of an experience that she had years ago where she did not feel welcome. The experience made the artist want to take a deeper dive into the history of country, and now we have it in Cowboy Carter. Though she lost out on nominations at the Country Music Awards, she got 12 at the People's Choice Country Awards, which was, funnily enough, more than anyone else that year.
Lindsay Lohan, she had everything everything going for her as a child star, but her transition from a freckled-faced Disney kid to full-blown adult was difficult to say the least. A DUI arrest that happened in May of 2007 was the beginning of the end for the celeb, as what followed immediately after was a string of more misdemeanors and missed court dates. Lohan's public meltdowns caused her to get less and less movie roles, and between car accidents, accusations of theft, multiple stays in rehab, and even a brief time in jail, she remained the paparazzi's top target and the public's biggest fascination at the time. She has very recently had the comeback of the century, so kudos to her, and here's hoping it sticks. Amanda Bynes, as the star of her own Nickelodeon show and her roles in countless teen comedies, she was seen as the bubbly girl next door and a promising actress on her rise to superstardom. However, in March of 2012, she had some very public meltdowns as she got a DUI and was also charged with possession of illicit substances. Now, her personal appearance also drastically started changing, and rumors were fueled that she had undergone botched plastic surgery. If that wasn't enough, her social media presence also became increasingly bizarre. On Twitter, she said some very vulgar things about Drake, and in May of 2013, she was seen throwing a glass smoking device out of the 36th floor window of her New York apartment. She was then hospitalized in a mental health facility and then later released into the care of her parents, who were granted conservatorship over her affairs. Britney Spears, this teen pop star who got her first kick on the Mickey Mouse Club along fellow stars like Justin Timberlake and Ryan Gosling, was arguably the biggest superstar in the world in the late 90s and early 2000s. But by 2004, when she married twice in a 9-month span, first to friend Jason Alexander and next to her backup dancer Kevin Federline, that was the start of the fall. As she started her family, Spears was hounded by paparazzi and accused of everything from negligent parenting to substance dependency issues, and a day after walking out of rehab, she experienced a very public meltdown as we watched her shave her head bald in 2007 and attack paparazzi with an umbrella. The courts then placed Britney under the conservatorship of her father, Jamie Spears, and it wasn't until just a couple years ago that she was released from it after the whole Free Britney movement. Although her recent behavior online suggests to many that that may have been a mistake to have her released. Demi Lovato. From the beginning, Demi was a little edgy for the Disney Channel that employed her, but they made it work. After co-starring in the camp rock movies with the Jonas Brothers and releasing 2 solo albums, rumors quickly began to surface of her using illegal substances and getting in fights with people on set. In October of 2010, Demi reportedly punched a backup dancer while on tour and withdrew tour dates to go into treatment for substance use. Now, she did re-emerge alongside Britney Spears as a judge on the show X Factor, but that was short-lived as she had allegedly relapsed shortly after that, and finally did an MTV documentary-style interview where she actually spoke openly and quite frankly about her issues and continuing recovery journey. Aaron Carter. If you know the Backstreet Boys, you'll know the late Aaron Carter. BSB's fan base was so popular that anyone associated with them would be able to easily gain that notoriety as well. Well, Nick Carter's younger brother Aaron was able to start and boost his career to platinum heights at such a young age. Aaron quickly became involved in a media frenzy when he was caught up in a love triangle with Lindsay Lohan and Hilary Duff. Now, as he became older, things started to take a turn and we started to see him spiral. He actually was arrested and charged with a DUI in 2017, and by 2019 his overall health was at a low, and his brother Aaron actually obtained a temporary restraining order against Aaron because he allegedly made threats to him. The most public meltdown though was when he actually appeared on the daytime show The Doctors and revealed that he had been diagnosed with multiple personality disorder, schizophrenia, acute anxiety, and manic depression. He had a child in 2021, and sadly 1 year later on November 5th, 2022, he passed away at the age of 34, so rest in peace. Selena Gomez, the Wizards of Waverly Place and Disney starlet turned singer slash superstar, has been famous and in the headlines for one reason or the other in the past 2 decades, but she started to rebel in her own ways the older she got, and it seems to have started, after she starred in the 2013 film Spring Breakers, because by 2014, she canceled tours and was checked into an Arizona rehab facility for 2 weeks. Fast forward to just recently in January of 2025, Selena had a seemingly public meltdown as she faced backlash for sobbing over ICE arrests in 2 now deleted videos. Now, upon receiving a ton of backlash and deleting the post, she then shared a follow-up post on her Instagram where she wrote, "Apparently it's not okay to show empathy for people." However, she deleted that post also. Most of the fans, reactions were of the consensus that Selena crying on film was not going to help any family affected, and were upset that she waited until it was too late to show empathy. Charlie Sheen. In a rather strange interview with ABC in February of 2011, the actor blasted 2.5 Men creator Chuck Lorre and proclaimed he was not bipolar but bi-winning. He also called Lorre a turd and a clown. During this interview, Charlie Sheen explains that he has tiger blood, and when she asked, the last time he used, he said, I use a blender, I use a vacuum cleaner, but ultimately said he can't remember the last time he used illegal substances. Now, from beginning to end, Sheen seems to celebrate his obvious meltdown, leading many to fear for his physical and psychological health. Despite the controversy surrounding the interview, it gained him further popularity. It gained him further popularity and actually gave the show he once was on the highest rating of the night. Chris Brown. In 2011, his Good Morning America appearance began with a smile, but he ultimately left angry and shirtless. The interview itself is very brief, with Robin Roberts focusing mostly on Brown's past and public image rather than his new album. Now on camera, Brown stays focused and even performs a song. Backstage, however, things went sour when Roberts began the conversation by asking about Rihanna. This interview came 2 years after pleading guilty to charges, and Chris Brown was clearly not pleased that his past kept being brought up. Brown didn't appreciate Robin Roberts prying about his situation with Rihanna and all of the hate that he got for it, so he had a very public meltdown. Brown stormed backstage after the interview, ripped his shirt off, and smashed a window with a chair, causing it to shatter and the shards of glass to fall on the sidewalk outside. Security was reportedly called to the scene immediately, but by the time they arrived, a very shirtless Brown was just headed out the door. Alec Baldwin. While a very popular actor, Alec Baldwin's temper has repeatedly gotten him into a lot of trouble. Back in 2007, Baldwin left a very nasty voicemail for his 11-year-old daughter, Ireland, calling her a thoughtless little pig. The incident was, acted upon a family judge who prevented Baldwin from contacting Ireland. Now, 4 years later, Baldwin got kicked off an American Airlines flight for being violent and belligerent. He had reportedly been asked to put his phone away, resulting in a public meltdown that saw him banging on walls, throwing papers on the ground, and screaming at the stewardess. Now, the incident was later parodied by Baldwin himself on Saturday Night Live. At least he has some self-awareness. Christian Bale. It's clear that this Oscar-winning actor takes his job very seriously, and it resulted in a meltdown for the ages. Bale was filming Terminator Salvation and was deeply angered by the on-set actions of cinematographer Shane Hurlbut. Bale stopped performing and screamed at him in a very lengthy tirade. Bale's flurry of profanity would make Tony Montana proud. At one point, it even sounds like Bale is restrained to keep things from getting physical. Now, this legendary meltdown was captured on audio only, sadly, and discreetly released to the public, where it became a pop culture sensation. Bale later apologized for the rant and said that he had made up with Halbert. We have Ryan Gosling. Someone's clearly been taking lessons from a sassy child, because that's the vibe that Ryan Gosling was sending off in waves while being interviewed alongside his The Nice Guys co-star Russell Crowe on Stephen Colbert's Late Night Show. In 2016, during their segment, Ryan stormed off stage after Crowe implied that he actually didn't need him for the interview, trashing Colbert's table before storming away with the house band and then joining the audience, basically interrupting the whole show. Everyone in the audience had this very shocked look on their face, wasn't quite sure if it was staged or not, but later they would go on to say that it was a bit for the show, but many people speculated that that was just their cover-up story and Ryan was being a diva. Number 2, Piers Morgan. Arguably one of the most notorious on-air exits in television history occurred in 2021 when presenter Piers Morgan abruptly left the set of Good Morning Britain. This happened after the weather presenter Alex Beresford confronted him regarding remarks he had made debate about Meghan Markle's interview with Oprah Winfrey during the previous day's broadcast. Alex said, "And I understand that you've got a personal relationship with Meghan Markle and she cut you off. She's entitled to cut you off if she wants to, but yet you continue to trash her." This prompted Pierce to stand up and exit the studio, which would ultimately mark his final appearance on the show. And later that day, it was revealed that he would be departing immediately amidst the controversy surrounding his remarks about the Duchess. Now, as he was storming off, he said, "Okay, I'm done with this. Sorry, no, can't do this. I'm off to spend more time with my opinions." Now, just a couple hours later after that incident, ITV released a statement saying Piers Morgan has decided now is the best time to leave Good Morning Britain. ITV has accepted this decision and has nothing further to add. Number 3, the Bee Gees. In 1997, during their appearance on Clive Anderson's All Talk, the Bee Gees found themselves at the receiving end of the host's jokes about their music. Within mere seconds of commencing the interview, Clive likened the group's distinctive high falsetto to Mickey Mouse and humorously suggested that the Bee Gees, renowned hitmakers, were only one letter shy of being hit writers. The breaking point for Barry Gibb and his brothers, Robin and Maurice, came when the host actually forgot their hit records, prompting them to get up and abruptly leave the show. Number 4, Crispin Glover. Now, Charlie's Angels actor Crispin Glover's unforgettable appearance on Late Show with David Letterman in 1987 secured its place as one of the most notorious moments in the genre's history. Crispin had previously garnered attention for his captivating performances in the 1984 film Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter, also followed by his role as George McFly in Back to the Future, one of my favorites. Now, his scheduled guest spot on Late Night with David Letterman was intended to promote his latest film. However, instead of the expected promotional interview, the actor, who was only 23 at the time, delivered a very perplexing and bewildering segment that lacked a discernible purpose or direction. The catastrophic segment ended with David declaring, "I'm gonna go check on the top 10," before walking off the stage and leaving Crispin briefly alone before the show just basically cut to commercial. Number 5, Joan Rivers. In 2014, the late Joan Rivers made headlines when she dramatically exited a CNN interview. CNN host Frederica Whitfield was accusing Joan of being mean in some of her harsh fashion critiques, which appeared to ruffle the comedian's feathers. Frederica continued to challenge Joan as she said, "You're not really worried about feelings getting hurt," to which the showbiz personality replied, "Well, not when it's about dresses. It's not about them. It's about the clothing." But before abruptly walking out of her interview, Joan yelled, "Stop it with the 'you're mean' and 'you're that' and 'you're this.' You are not the one to interview a person who does humor. Sorry." She basically stormed off and left the interviewer shocked and basically in disbelief. Number 6, Chris Christie. Now, comedian Jimmy Fallon couldn't resist slipping in a wisecrack about former Governor Chris Christie's weight when the Republican presidential candidate attempted to recount a story involving ice cream. This incident unfolded during Christie's appearance in 2015 on The Tonight Show. Now, Christie was sharing an anecdote about a recent visit to New Hampshire where he and Florida Senator Marco Rubio had stayed with Utah Senator Mitt Romney. Now, during their stay, Christie recounted how they all went on a boat ride with their respective families, and upon returning to the dock, Mitt suggested that they all indulge in some ice cream. Christie described his reaction to the ice cream offer as all right, but Jimmy, making a playful reference to Christie's weight, suggested that his response might have been a tad more enthusiastic. Now, Christie caught on to the joke and, in kind of good humor, momentarily walked off the stage before returning with a comeback of his own. Number 7, Paris Hilton. When ABC interviewer Dan Harris asked Paris Hilton if she was worried about her, moment having passed, she laughed uncomfortably, then basically left. She got annoyed and walked out of the interview after he asked her about being past her prime and kind of living in the shadow of former friend Kim Kardashian. Now, in the clip, Harris repeatedly asks her if she's worried that, time has passed, she's not really popular anymore, and actually points out the low ratings on her Oxygen reality show, The World According to Paris. Now, Hilton answered, "I've been doing this for 15 years now, so it's been a long time. So just like any other business person or someone in the industry, it's always important to reinvent yourself and come up with new projects." After several basically clipped, quick no responses, she basically sighs, looks off camera, and just walks out and doesn't return. Number 8, Naomi Campbell. During an interview with ABC News in 2010, supermodel Naomi Campbell abruptly left when a discussion veered towards a blood diamond she was rumored to have received from former Liberian dictator Charles Taylor, who was facing war crimes charges at the time. She said, "I didn't receive a diamond, and I'm not going to speak about that." As the interviewer persisted in questioning Naomi about the issue, the fashion icon on, rose from her seat, and departed, accidentally causing a camera to even topple over in the process. Later in the same year, Naomi acknowledged that she had received the diamond while providing testimony during the trial of the former leader. Number 9, Prince. Prince was interviewed on The View in 2010, but he didn't actually stay for long, and for years since, fans have wondered how he actually really felt about the interview. Prince joked about being on the morning show and said, "These are strange hours for rock stars." He mentioned that there was a wonderful series of concerts that he was doing there, as he was at the time playing at Madison Square Garden. Now, while The View's co-hosts were all thrilled to have Prince there, since he was, of course, an icon, Sherri Shepherd was definitely the most excited. And since she was sitting right next to Prince at the famous View table, she looked super nervous. Right away, Shepherd said, "Hey Prince, could you just say, Sherri, I love you?" He did, and they hugged, and that seemed like a very sweet moment, but then things got incredibly awkward. Sherri then said to Prince, "You don't understand, Prince. I've wanted to make love to you for my entire life." Prince felt extremely uncomfortable. His eyes went like really wide. He kind of like comically backed away from the host, but he actually left the set for good. He basically said, "Girl, get somebody else to do it." Number 10, last but not least on my list, is Rita Ora. Now, Rita Ora walked out of an AP interview after the reporter asked her about her ex-boyfriend and musical collaborator Calvin Harris. The interviewer said, "There's been a lot of rumors about Calvin Harris not releasing some of your stuff." Ora shut it down. She said, "Thank you, bye-bye," and she replied saying that while walking away. Now, it's alleged that when she split with Calvin Harris, there were rumors that she cheated on him, that he refused to allow the album to be released because he produced it, basically completely sabotaging her career and ruining all of the momentum she had made at that time, which is why the interviewer asked her that question in the first place. So it didn't end well.
During his career, Mike Tyson earned at least $430 million, but his spending habits put an end to that. During his marriage to Robin Givens, he bought her a bathtub made out of 24-karat gold that reportedly cost him $2.2 million. He also reportedly spent $210,000 on Siberian tigers, $400,000 on trained pigeons, and $300,000 on landscaping. Now, that is to say nothing about Tyson's $22 million mansion, as well as the fact that he spends $100,000 a month on jewelry and $300,000 annually on partying. Now, he also had an incredibly expensive car collection, just like many other celebrities. Now, according to reports, Tyson bought at least 111 different cars over the years, including many that were extremely expensive. Now, in the years since Tyson became a world-famous boxer, he has been sued way too many times and had to pay out a lot of money because of that. While there's no way to know how much money he lost between 3 lawsuits, there is every reason to assume it was a significant figure. Now, as a result, those lawsuits almost certainly played a role in the former boxer declaring bankruptcy in 2003. Now, according to the bankruptcy filing, he was reportedly $27 million in debt at that point. "I have been in financial distress since 1998, when I was burdened with substantial debt to Showtime, taxing authorities, and parties to litigation," he said in an affidavit. "Since that time, although my fight income, various asset sales, and litigation recoveries have enabled me to pay a lot of my debt, I am still unable to pay my bills." Now, speaking about his financial issues at the SALT conference in 2017, he said, "I didn't think I'd make it through my 30s. But now, in 2025, his net worth is estimated to be around $20 million, which is way better than before. Now, hopefully this time, he'll spend his money more responsibly." Johnny Depp's films have amassed over $12 billion in global box office earnings. Johnny accumulated in a total income of $300 million from all 5 Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and at his peak, his net worth reached approximately $900 million. By 2012, he was listed by the Guinness World Records as the world's highest paid actor, but Johnny's extravagant lifestyle and significant monthly expenses led to a staggering expenditure of $650 million from 2003 to 2016. According to his financial manager, he was spending an incredible $2 million per month on his lifestyle, maintaining 14 14 residences, a collection of 70 guitars, and a refined taste for high-quality wines. Now, additionally, he exclusively travels by private plane, opting for a Gulfstream GV, incurring a monthly cost of $200,000. Now, he's also been involved in a handful of lawsuits that have cost him as well. While he's definitely not doing as bad in the money department now, he could have had way more funds if he spent it better. Toni Braxton first filed for bankruptcy in 1998, at which time she was $5 million in debt. Everyone was confused because at the time of her filing, she had a sold-out world tour and millions of albums sold. But it turned out the reason why she was in debt was because she was suing her record label. Yep, she was trying to terminate her recording contract because she was only receiving 33 cents per album, making it impossible to make money from album sales, which is honestly just crazy. Her career then began to soar, and she became the headlining act at the Flamingo Hotel's casino, which seemed to be going great until it wasn't. You see, the singer collapsed on stage during a show in April 2007 and was hospitalized immediately after. She told ABC News in 2012, "The Vegas show, I just renewed my contracts with all my vendors, and then a month later I got sick, I couldn't work, and I could not afford to pay them back." Now, Toni was forced to file bankruptcy again in October 2010. In the filing, Toni was reportedly as much $50 million in debt. She owed money to a wide range of creditors, including the IRS, Tiffany & Co., AT&T, and Neiman Marcus. Now, she reportedly spent $2.5 million on makeup, clothing, and hair alone in under 2 years. Then, in July 2013, Toni lost the rights to 27 of her most famous songs as part of her ongoing bankruptcy case. That means she's no longer eligible to receive the lion's share of the royalties for the sales of her own music. Eventually, a bankruptcy court wiped away a good chunk of her debt, but she was really struggling at one point. Now, Spencer Pratt and Heidi Montag lost their house in the LA wildfires, which is devastating and comes with challenges as they might not have the funds to rebuild. Now, the couple got married in 2009 and have been inseparable since, which means that their debt is huge and shared. Their combined fortune was $10 million at their peak, but they quickly blew it all away. Their money failures included millions of dollars spent on designer clothes and handbags, hair and makeup, and Heidi's plastic surgery sessions. Additionally, they wasted $2.5 million on Heidi's musical career, which only produced one album and at the time sold a total of only 6,000 units. Now, Spencer would later admit to blowing $500,000 on healing crystals that were meant to give off positive energy. Now, their combined net worth today is estimated to be at $300,000, but currently though, it's reported that they're suing the city for their house burning down, so maybe they'll get some more money that way. Now, Stephen Baldwin filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2009. The actor and his wife accumulated $2 million in debt. He owed $1.2 million on 2 mortgages, $70,000 in credit card debt, and $1 million in federal taxes. In 2012, the actor was arrested for failing to pay taxes for 3 years. A judge ordered that he pays $300,000, and the ruling stated if the debt was paid in a year, the charge would be removed from his record. But he would otherwise serve 5 years probation, and in the end, he ended up serving probation. His house was foreclosed in 2017 after he failed to make a mortgage payment for 6 years, and as of right now, his estimated net worth is around $1 million, which is honestly way better than it used to be. Randy Quaid was quickly growing in his career, but that all started to go downhill in 2008. He was doing stage acting at the time, and a committee from the Actors Equity Association, the labor union representing American stage actors, banned Randy for life and fined him more than $81,000. Apparently, all 26 members of the musical cast he was in brought charges that Randy physically and verbally mistreated his fellow performers. With no longer being a stage actor, film and TV acting was his only choice, but that didn't last long, as in September 2009, Randy and his wife Evie were arrested for not paying a $10,000 hotel bill. They were then arrested again for squatting in a home that they used to own, so they skipped town and headed to Canada. Though people assume that the Quaids were on the run from the law, they claim that they fled to the north to avoid the Hollywood Star Whackers, which is a secret organization that took celebs out or manufactured scandals to discredit them. Well, that's what they say. Now, Randy told the Vancouver Press about the mysteries behind the Star firewalkers, and he claimed that Heath Ledger and Chris Penn were their latest victims. Since those bizarre claims, the Queeds were arrested and released once more in 2015, but today Randy's net worth is sitting at negative $1 million, which is just crazy. When Michael Jackson passed away in 2009, it was revealed that he owed up to $500 million. One accountant testified that Michael had an ongoing cash crisis, that he was spending $30 million more than he earned every year, which spiraled him into a debt crisis. It was revealed that Michael had actually burned through $1 billion in the span of just 20 years. When he appeared in a documentary in 2003, he spent $6 million in 1 hour during a shopping trip in Las Vegas. Now, he also splashed out $100,000 on CCTV for his Neverland Ranch, and $2.5 million was spent on annual salaries to manage the ranch for him. Now, after his death, the executors of his estate were able to save Michael's financial state thanks to an aggressive tactic. They sold all of his future music rights to Sony for $250 million. Once his debts were settled, his heirs could finally access their inheritance. Now, 40% of his assets were split equally between his 3 children, and the other 40% was left to his mother, Katherine Jackson. And the final 20% of the superstar's estate was left to various children's charities.
First up, James Franco. He has been accused of lying about his involvement in a scandal. In January of 2018, several women came forward with allegations of misconduct against him. The allegations included inappropriate behavior. These 5 women accused him of exploitative behavior, including allegations that he forced them to perform explicit intimate scenes during filming. Several women also accused Franco of misusing his power and influence as a filmmaker and educator to take advantage of them. Franco initially denied the allegations, calling them all not accurate. However, he later admitted to sleeping with his students and acknowledged that he made mistakes. James Franco has, agreed to actually pay $2.2 million to settle the class action lawsuit for allegedly pushing his former film students again to perform these really increasingly explicit intimate scenes on camera. The lawsuit also names Franco's production company, Rabbit Bandini, and his partners. The fallout, however, from all of these allegations was, really significant. Franco's film, The Disaster Artist, was released in 2017, but the allegations led to a reevaluation of his role in the film. Franco was a contender for Best Actor Oscar, for his role in that same movie, but the allegations definitely hurt his chances. He also had several projects that he was involved in canceled or just put on hold, including a film adaptation of The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. And needless to say, his teaching position at UCLA was absolutely terminated. So while his career has not been completely derailed, the allegations have had a lasting impact on his reputation and career prospects. His credibility as a filmmaker and educator is completely damaged. His career, slowed down like crazy, and his public image has been tarnished and is no longer seen as a respected and admired figure in the entertainment industry. Lori has been accused of lying about her involvement in the college admission bribery scandal, which also involved her husband, Massimo. In March of 2019, Lori and Massimo were charged with conspiracy to commit mail and wire fraud for their alleged involvement in the scheme. Now, they both allegedly paid $500,000 in bribes to get their 2 daughters, Olivia Jade and Isabella Rose, admitted to the University of Southern California as crew team recruits, despite neither of their daughters being a rower. The couple allegedly created fake athletic profiles for their daughters, including photoshopped images and fabricated rowing credentials. They also allegedly arranged for their daughters to cheat on college entrance exams, including the SATs, which is huge. The couple denied the allegations, but later pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit wire and mail fraud. The response to all of this was a lot, though. Lori's career was severely impacted, with her being fired from the Hallmark Channel and losing endorsement deals. In August of 2020, Lori was sentenced to 2 months in prison, followed by 2 years of supervised release, and she was ordered to pay a whopping $150,000 fine. Her husband Massimo was sentenced to 5 months in prison, followed by 2 years of supervised release, and ordered to pay a $250,000 $50,000 fine. The scandal, of course, also affected their daughters, with Olivia Jade losing sponsorship deals and facing very intense public backlash. Olivia went dark on social media and her beauty channel for months. She's no longer enrolled at USC, and she made her first YouTube video after the scandal on December 1st, 2019. She said in it, "Obviously, I've been gone for a really long time, and as much as I wish I could talk about all of this, it's really hard for me to say this just because I know that it's something that needs to be addressed." She continued to say, "It's just unfortunate, also why I didn't know exactly when I should come back to YouTube, but the reason for that is just because I'm legally not allowed to speak on anything going on right now." Now, in her first interview afterwards, Olivia apologized, admitted to the family's wrongdoing. She said, "We had the means to do something and we completely took it and ran with it." She said that on Red Table Talk back in December of 2020. She said, "It was something that was wrong. It really can't be excused. On paper, it's bad. It's really bad. But I think what a lot of people don't know is my parents came from a place of just, I love my kids. I just want to help my kids, whatever is best for them. I worked my whole life to provide for my family. I think they thought it was normal." Olivia relaunched her YouTube channel in January of 2021, and she joined the cast of Dancing with the Stars season 30 later that year. She didn't make it very far. Sean Diddy Combs, we all know how he has been embroiled in a very high-profile scandal involving allegations of forced exploitation, racketeering conspiracy, and transportation for adult entertainment services. The allegations, which surfaced in 2024, have sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry and beyond. The allegations against Diddy stem from his alleged involvement in the exploitation ring, which exploited and coerced victims into non-consensual intimate acts. According to reports, Diddy allegedly used his influence and resources to facilitate the transporting, which involved relocating victims across state lines for the purpose of trade. An investigation led by the FBI resulted in Diddy's arrest in 2024. He was charged with multiple federal crimes, and these charges carry significant penalties, including imprisonment and fines. The allegations and charges against Diddy have already begun to take a toll on his career and personal life. He's been caught in too many lies to even keep up with, and the scandals may ruin, his life and career in 2005, maybe ever, as everyone basically wants, cancel culture to do what they do and exile him completely from Hollywood. He's already had significant loss of business partnerships. Diddy's business empire, which includes, of course, his record label, clothing line, and other ventures, will suffer as a result of these scandals, as they should, disrespectfully. Partners and investors have already started to distance themselves from him, leading to financial losses and damages to his reputation, of course. Now, the allegations against Diddy have already tarnished his reputation. Social media has not let up. So many people have, taken to social platforms to express their outrage and disappointment over all of the allegations. Others have used, social platforms to show support for the alleged victims, and in particular, his ex Cassie. The hashtag Justice for Victims and Support Survivors have surfaced and have been trending since last year as a result. People just really want him to be held accountable and also face the time for his crimes. His wealth and influence have, always gotten him out of trouble, but not anymore. Time is up with this one. And TMZ has already produced like 3 or 4 documentary type videos on the downfall of Diddy, so go watch them if you really want a deep dive. Lizzo is next. Lizzo will likely be canceled officially in 2025. She topped the most canceled list, seeing her followers dwindle by 6.7% on all social media platforms in 2024. The Truth Hurts rapper's reputation has been suffering since she was sued by her former backup dancers, who actually accused her of harassment and weight shaming. Lizzo slammed the allegations as false and outrageous. In March of last year, she made matters worse by performing at a re-election fundraiser and was criticized by her dancer's lawyer, who called her appearance, shameful and a terrible look. The Grammy winner, took to Instagram to clap back at all the hate. She said, "I'm getting tired of putting up with being dragged by everyone in my life and on the internet." She continued to say, "All I want is to make music and make people happy and help the world be a little bit better than how I found it. But I'm starting to feel like the world doesn't want me in it. I'm constantly up against lies being told about me for clout and views. My character being picked apart by people who don't know me and disrespecting my name. I didn't sign up for this ish, I quit." In August of last year, she actually announced that she was taking a much needed break from the industry. She said, "I'm taking a gap year and protecting my peace." She wrote that alongside a video of herself in a bathing suit, noticeably slimmed down. Many people think her lies are catching up to her and that she will likely be seen nor heard of very much in this upcoming year, so let's see. Jack Harlow. He is another person who has lost a very, significant amount of followers last year and was apparently down about 6% also, which worked out to roughly just under 500K. Now, the rapper broke into the music scene with the 2020 release of his single What's Poppin', which earned him a Grammy nomination. In 2021, he made Forbes 30 Under 30 list, and in 2022, he even hosted Saturday Night Live, which is a big deal. However, in 2023, transgressions began piling up. In April of that year, he turned heads by releasing a song called Gang Gang Gang, centered around him learning that 2 of his childhood friends were accused of SA. That summer, he was criticized for cultural appropriation after he was photographed wearing a silk bonnet, which resembled one that black women wear, and he wore it out to a soccer game. Harlow's decision to wear one outside, something that, is often criticized when done by black people, has left his audience feeling a mix of amusement, annoyance, and confusion. Despite previous accusations of cultural appropriation, the artist regularly acknowledges his, privileged position within the hip-hop world. In the past, he's openly stated that black culture has been instrumental in his own rise to fame. One person wrote, "Now this is what Monique should have been talking about when she mentioned bonnets in public," highlighting a time the actress faced backlash after, broaching the topic. That fall, he was also accused of being homophobic after a song he recorded with Kanye West was leaked. He's been racking up scandals like Infinity Stones, and honestly, the internet has been calling him canceled already, so I'd be shocked if 2025 didn't have a cancellation in store for him. If he's smart, he will lay low and maybe hang with Drewski for a bit and just chill out. But Hollywood, a secret gets exposed, like every 2 seconds, so let's circle back on Jack in a few months.
Now, spitting at police. That's an intense phrase if I've ever heard one, so let's start with that. This allegedly happened in 2008. Again, it's all alleged because, well, I wasn't there. I was 7, and I have never been on the airline where this happened, aka British Airways. But the subject in question, the person this story centers around, was supermodel Naomi Campbell. The reason she was so upset was because of missing luggage. Missing luggage sucks, no matter who you are. It all happened before the flight even left, though. She somehow realized that her bags weren't making it on with her and refused to let the plane leave without them. It got to a point where police had to come onto that plane to try and defuse the situation, but that clearly didn't work because the supermodel was escorted off after spitting at the officer. She was banned from the airline. Didn't last very long though. Like 5 years later, she was back on a flight, much to the disappointment of the airline staff. But this wasn't actually the first time that Campbell got into an altercation on a plane. A decade prior, in 1998, she got into an altercation with fellow passengers, and this one looks like it happened midair. Campbell was asleep on the flight, and then people tried to take pictures of her. She got upset with them, and things escalated to the point where she tried to rip the camera from the person's hand. Khabib Nurmagomedov was set to take a flight in January of this year. He was sat in the emergency exit row, and that was apparently a problem. In a video taken of the incident, a manager is seen speaking to the MMA star and telling him that he had 2 options: change seats or exit the flight. He remarked that the treatment and options weren't fair and he didn't want to change seats. For that reason, he was escorted off. He was honestly pretty respectful about the whole thing, in my opinion. He did get up and exit calmly when he realized that the airline wouldn't budge. He was booked onto a later flight. Once the internet heard about the incident, people were quick to point out that of everyone on that plane, he actually might have been the best choice for the emergency exit row, but looking into why he was asked to leave, apparently when the flight attendant came around to ask the standard exit row questions like, "Can you help people in case of emergency?" or "This is what you do in case of emergency," she had to explain it to the fighter a few times. English isn't his first language, but he can speak it, though he did eventually understand what the attendant was asking him and confirmed that he understood. She felt it would be better if he were moved to another seat, and well, you know what happened after. Probably one of the most impressive track records when it comes to airport arrests belongs to that of Snoop Dogg. So the year's 2006, and 3 airport incidents happened in this one year. The biggest of the trio was him and members of his entourage were trying to get into the VIP lounge at Heathrow Airport. Some people had the tickets to get in, but some people only had economy tickets, so they weren't eligible for entry. People in the group got mad and pushed their way in. Workers obviously protested this and said that the group would not be able to board their flight. point. Police were called and things escalated to the point where stuff started getting thrown. Nasty words, bottles of alcohol from duty free, and even, in one case, an officer. A quote I found was that a policeman was thrown like a rag doll, and that really just paints the picture of the state of that room for me. Allegedly, it took 4 officers to get Snoop Dogg in handcuffs, there were many injuries, and this all unfolded in front of patrons already in the VIP lounge, so dinner and a show. So that was April. October rolls around and Snoop Dogg was arrested at Bob Hope Airport after he was found to be in possession of a firearm and the green leaves. He was scheduled to appear in court in December for that one, but right before that, in November, CBC News reported that he was charged with a felony for trying to board a plane with a collapsible baton, which is deemed a weapon. He said it was a prop for a future video that he was going to shoot later. However, he did plead guilty and was sentenced to 3 years probation and 160 hours of community service. A decade ago, Kate Moss was removed from her flight to London. She apparently hid some vodka in her bag and drank it, something you can't do. She also tossed some insulting words at the airline staff in her intoxicated state. Allegedly, she got into it with a fellow passenger, but luckily for the most part, the other passengers seemed to be unbothered, or just like less bothered by the supermodel. One person even described her as kind of funny and said that the flight attendants were overreacting. The police did respond to the incident, but the outcome of this was pretty tame in comparison to some other airport incidents. After it all went down, passengers from the flight even came to the defense of the model. A clash over phones and allegedly words with friends had actor Alec Baldwin escorted off his flight in 2011. Hey, anything can happen. So you know, when you're on a flight and the flight attendants ask people to put away their devices, but then there's like that few minutes where the plane doesn't actually take off, so everyone just pulls them out again? That's what this seems like it was. After it all was over, Baldwin explained that he felt singled out by the flight attendant. However, the attendant's story paints a different picture. Either way, it's clear that Baldwin was asked to put his phone away in the middle of words with friends, things escalated, and he was removed from the flight and placed on a later one. The in-between stuff, we'll get into it. Baldwin's story was, he was singled out and asked to put his phone away, while other people got to use theirs still. He did admit that the situation got the better of him. Reps for the airline added some more details, claiming that not only did Baldwin refuse to turn off his device, he allegedly decided to take it into the washroom and slammed the door so hard the cockpit crew heard it through their closed door. He was also allegedly using negative words towards the airline staff and being generally unpleasant. But if you thought words with friends was an interesting catalyst for an in-flight argument, get ready for sagging pants. Billy Joe Armstrong of Green Day boarded a flight in 2011, but a flight attendant was not appreciative of the man's fashion choice of the day. Some airlines, this one included, they don't have like a super strict dress code. However, they do want passengers dressed appropriately to be around, well, young people and the public in general. And that doesn't include sagging pants. Armstrong was the first to break the news of his plane removal, tweeting about it in real time. According to an account of the incident, he had boarded the plane only to be approached by an attendant and asked to pull his pants up. Upon refusal, he was told the pants go up or he's off. And from the end result of this day, one can only imagine that the pants just had to stay down. Things went a bit different for another intoxicated celebrity, Blac Chyna, but her situation seems like it was just a bit different. Whereas Moss just tried to serve her own alcohol and said some mean words, apparently Blac Chyna got into an intense verbal fight with the gate attendant. But that wasn't the main reason she was turned away. Allegedly, she also just smelled intoxicated. After refusing to allow her to board the aircraft, she was redirected to Saxon Pub. The problem was, that was closing, she really couldn't seem to catch a break this day. She then allegedly got into an argument with the bartender, then that ended in the police arriving to help escort the star from the building. She wasn't having a great time and refused to walk and was generally uncooperative. She was also found with some capsule substances in her purse, so it's clear that she was just having a bad day. She did post bail at $8,000 in addition to some counseling and evaluations. E-Online wrote on a report that was filed at the time that claimed the star was charged with a third-degree felony for having the stuff on her. Thankfully, she did have someone looking out for her in the end. Then boyfriend Rob Kardashian posted a photo shortly after her arrest of them FaceTiming. I can say that she is doing much better in 2025. She's engaged and highly successful in her fields.
Johnny Depp's Hollywood journey hasn't always been smooth sailing. From being the face of iconic franchises to getting dropped faster than Jack Sparrow could down a bottle of rum, Depp's career has seen its fair share of drama. Take Pirates of the Caribbean, for instance, Disney decided to part ways with their beloved captain after personal drama made waves. Fans were outraged and petitions flooded in, but the studio stood firm, leaving Depp's swashbuckling days behind. And then came Fantastic Beasts, where Depp's role as the dark wizard Gellert Grindelwald was recast amidst ongoing legal issues. Warner Brothers politely asked him to step down. And just like that, another major franchise said goodbye to one of Hollywood's most charismatic stars. Despite it all, Depp remains a fan favorite, proving that even when Hollywood closes a door, his devoted supporters are ready to kick it back open. After all, you can take the pirate out of the ship, but you can't take the legend out of Johnny Depp. Megan Fox's exit from the Transformers franchise was a jaw-dropper. After dazzling audiences as Michaela Baines in the first two films, Fox found herself on the chopping block before Transformers. Dark of the Moon. What was the culprit? A candid interview where she compared director Michael Bay to a certain infamous historical figure. She described working with him as akin to being on a set run by a nightmare dictator. And let's just say, that didn't sit well with the powers that be. The fallout was swift. Steven Spielberg allegedly told Bay to let her go. And just like that, Rosie Huntington-Whiteley stepped in as Sam's new love interest. Despite Fox's claims that she chose to leave, it was clear that her outspoken nature had ruffled some serious feathers. However, all was not lost. Years later, Fox and Bay reunited for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reboot, proving that sometimes Hollywood feuds can cool down. Fox learned from her past, and while she may have been sidelined, she's back in action and ready to reclaim her spot in the spotlight. Ryan Gosling's method of acting once led to a rather icy exit. Before he charmed audiences in The Notebook and Barbie, Gosling was slated to play the grieving father in Peter Jackson's The Lovely Bones. Gosling, committed to the role, decided the character should weigh 210 pounds. His tactic? Downing melted Haagen-Dazs. When Gosling showed up on set sporting a 60-pound gain, Jackson wasn't pleased. Gosling was given the boot, later quipping, "Then I was fat and unemployed." Saoirse Ronan, who starred in the film, recalled being sad that Gosling wouldn't be around but understood the decision. While Gosling believed his weight gain led to his dismissal, writer and producer Fran Walsh said that Jackson felt Gosling was too young to play the father of a teenager. Eventually, Mark Wahlberg took over the role. Despite the setback, Gosling reunited with Ronan in his directorial debut, Lost River, proving that not all Hollywood stories end on a sour note. Kevin Spacey's Hollywood saga is the stuff of legends, just not the good kind. In a plot twist that would make even Frank Underwood raise an eyebrow, Spacey was unceremoniously dropped from Ridley Scott's All the Money in the World just a month before its release. The film was already in the can, but after some serious allegations surfaced, Scott decided to reshoot all of Spacey's scenes with Christopher Plummer, proving that even Oscar winners can be replaced faster than a bad haircut. But that wasn't his only exit. Spacey also got the boot from House of Cards, where he played a power-hungry politician. Netflix pulled the plug on him quicker than you can say toxic work environment, and he ended up owing a staggering $31 million for breaching his contract. Talk about a costly departure. Despite these dramatic exits, Spacey has hinted at a comeback, recently appearing in a low-budget Italian film. So, while he may have been dealt a rough hand, it seems this actor isn't ready to fold just yet. Jenna Ortega's exit from Scream 7 is a plot twist worthy of a horror flick. Just as fans were gearing up for another round of Ghostface antics, Ortega decided to bow out, citing her busy schedule with Wednesday Season 2. Talk about a scheduling issue. It's like trying to juggle chainsaws while walking a tightrope. Impressive, but risky. Her departure came on the heels of her co-star Melissa Barrera being let go due to some debated social media posts. Ortega's timing was impeccable, leaving everyone wondering if she was just trying to dodge the drama. In true Jenna style, she later remarked on the overly sensitive nature of Hollywood, quipping that the industry has become so touchy-feely that it sacrifices honesty for political correctness. "Am I describing world peace?" she joked, hinting at the absurdity of it all. While fans might miss her in the franchise, Ortega is clearly focused on her blossoming career. So, while Ghostface may be lurking, Jenna is off slaying in her own right. Just not in Woodsboro this time. Jonathan Majors' Hollywood tale took a wild turn that even the best screenwriters couldn't script. Once the rising star of the Marvel Universe as Kang the Conqueror, Majors found himself on the wrong side of a courtroom drama. After being found guilty of misdemeanor altercation and improper conduct, Marvel Studios decided to cut ties faster than you can say multiverse. Just like that, his plans for Avengers: The Kang Dynasty went poof. Talk about a plot twist that left fans gasping. But it didn't stop there. Majors also lost his role in 48 Hours in Vegas, where he was set to portray the legendary Dennis Rodman. Lionsgate must have thought, "We don't need this kind of drama." It's like he was starring in a real-life version of Survivor, and unfortunately, he didn't win immunity. Now, while Majors is eyeing a comeback with an indie film called Merciless, one can't help but wonder if he'll be able to conquer this new chapter. After all, Hollywood loves a good redemption story. Just ask any superhero. Stuart Townsend's exit from The Lord of the Rings is a tale that could rival any epic fantasy. Originally cast as Aragorn, Townsend spent 2 months preparing for the role, only to be given the boot just a day before filming kicked off. Talk about a dramatic plot twist. Rumors swirled that he was acting like a prima donna, skipping training sessions and showing up hours late. No one wants to deal with that when you're about to embark on an epic journey through Middle-earth. In his own words, Townsend was shocked, claiming he was told he wasn't working hard enough. "I love to work, I'm a worker," he exclaimed. But apparently his definition of working hard didn't quite align with Peter Jackson's vision. When Viggo Mortensen stepped in to fill those big boots, he probably felt like he just won the lottery, except someone else had already lost their ticket. Despite the abrupt dismissal, Townsend later quipped about not getting his heart broken over it. After all, in Hollywood, sometimes you're the hero, and sometimes you're just left on the cutting room floor. Christian Bale's journey through Hollywood is a wild ride, complete with unexpected exits. Once upon a time, he was set to play Patrick Bateman in American Psycho *, but guess what? He got fired. The role initially went to Leonardo DiCaprio, who had everyone buzzing, but when Leo took a detour for another project, Bale swooped back in like a bat out of hell. Talk about a second chance. It's like being benched only to score the winning goal at the last minute. Then, there's the infamous Terminator Salvation saga. Bale was caught on tape unleashing a tirade on set, threatening to quit if the cinematographer didn't get the boot for stepping into his eyeline. His outburst was so dramatic it could have been a scene from one of his films. While he later apologized, the incident turned into a meme-worthy moment in Hollywood history. Despite these hiccups, Bale remains a powerhouse in film. He's transformed himself for roles like nobody else, proving that sometimes getting fired might just be the plot twist you need to keep your career thriving.
Starting off our list at number 10 is Justin Bieber. There's been a few occasions where the pop star has lost his cool on the paparazzi, but one of them almost led to a physical altercation. On Friday, March 8th, back in 2013, he was making his way to his car in London when he started to push the paparazzi around. He was with his bodyguard, and to avoid having his picture taken, he pushed any photographer that was in his way of his car door. That's when the photographer started to say, "That's assault," and told him to F off and go back to America. He even called him an effing little moron. His words, not mine. Justin was in the car when he said it, but he must have heard him because he stormed out of the car and lunged at the photographer, attempting to make some physical contact with him, but he was restrained by his bodyguard. Bieber told the guy, I quote, "I'll effing beat the F out of you." Bieber continues to verbally attack the man while trying to get to him physically, but his team ends up escorting him back into the car. Up next at number 9 is Russell Brand. He's known to be a feisty guy to begin with, so you can only imagine how he would react to someone who's trying to snatch an inappropriate picture of his woman. That's right, back in 2010, the actor was with his wife at the time, Katy Perry, and they were making their way through LAX. He noticed that one of the paparazzi photographers were trying to take pictures up Katy's dress, and that's when he came to her defense and lashed out on the man. He pushed him down and grabbed at his camera, but did not stick around for any altercation. He kinda ran off. However, someone at the airport made a citizen's arrest and he was detained until police arrived. The victim had placed the actor under private person's arrest, and Brand was charged with battery and forced to pay $13,000 bail to free himself. Katy later took it to Twitter and said, I quote, "If you cross the line and try and put a lens up my dress, my fiance will do his job and protect me." So at our number 8 spot is Kanye West. This does not surprise me one bit. It is no secret that the man basically walks around doing whatever he wants to whoever he wants. Hence the whole steal the microphone from Taylor Swift thing. But his actions finally had consequences after he was charged with misdemeanor battery and attempted grand theft for attacking a paparazzo. Apparently that is what they call these people. And he also attempted to steal his camera. Kanye was walking through LAX in 2008 and he was not in the mood to deal with the paparazzi, or one of them in particular. He ended up getting into a physical scruff with the cameraman and was trying to literally steal his camera from him, telling him to let go of it. At one point he even puts him in a headlock, trying to get him to release the camera. Kanye ends up backing off of the man who still had his camera, but the judge sentenced him to serve 2 years probation for the misdemeanor battery conviction. He was also required to attend 24-hour anger management sessions and perform 250 hours of community service and pay restitution to the victim. So he basically lost that entire thing. At number 7 is Britney Spears. May we never forget her bald head circa. Back in 2007, shortly after the whole head shaving incident, she attacked a paparazzo and his SUV. She was in her friend's vehicle at a gas station where she was swarmed by photographers who were trying to take pictures of her inside the car. She reached her breaking point and then went on the attack. What was her weapon of choice? An umbrella, of course. She started swinging her umbrella viciously at the photographer, which ended up leaving a big mark on his back. It was all caught on tape. But then she went for his Ford Explorer and began smashing whatever she could as she repeatedly yelled, "F you." She ended up dropping the umbrella and then sped off in her friend's car. A few months later, she ended up apologizing on her website, and down the road in 2017, the photographer started to auction off the umbrella. Yes, he kept it, and now he is trying to make some cash off of it by starting it off at $50,000. No reports were made that it was sold, and Britney never commented on it. Next up in the number 6 spot is Chris Martin. The Coldplay singer has made headlines on multiple occasions, like the time he allegedly smashed the windshield of a photographer's car, or when he was accused of purposely hitting a paparazzo with his car, like literally running him over. Every incident lands him on this list today, but one personal physical attack was completely random and very uncalled for, and it was all caught on tape. He was leaving the hospital with his wife at the time, Gwyneth Paltrow, who was in the car before he even walked out. One paparazzi congratulated him and asked if everything was okay, but instead of responding, he attacks a different cameraman, pushing him down to the floor, saying, "Have some respect."
Hey Chris, thanks for the video. You give it back to him or this door's getting broken. Give the camera back to him.
He ends up grabbing the camera from him as he's lying down on the road and tries to get in his car with it. The man, along with another cameraman, got to him before getting in the car and told him that they will break his car door if he doesn't give it back. He ends up giving it back, probably in hopes that he doesn't get charged for everything that was just caught on videotape by the other man, who said to him, "Thanks for the video, Chris." Halfway through our list, at number 5 is Hugh Grant. Some celebs use their fists to fight off paparazzi, some of them use their car, some of them throw objects, and some of them even spit. But not Hugh Grant. Nope, he kicks them in the nuts. Well, he also throws things. He got arrested back in 2007 for throwing a container of beans at a cameraman. But when it comes to a physical altercation, he goes for the groin. In 2009, video footage surfaced of him walking through New York with a friend. He was being followed by some paparazzi as per usual, and they seemed to be getting along. He was laughing with them at first, but ended up attacking one of them and just kicked him in the crotch for no apparent reason. The guy was so thrown off, he didn't even know how to respond. He did respond with, "Ouch, good thing I put my hand there." He also threatened to go find a cop and said that he has other witnesses. But Hugh looks completely unbothered the entire time and just casually walks away. Here we are at number 4 with Gerard Butler. Back in 2008, the actor was being investigated after he allegedly attacked a photographer, aka paparazzi, and left him with a bloody mouth. The cameraman filed a police report accusing him of punching him several times in the face and cutting his lip to a point where he needed stitches. Apparently the paparazzo was tailing him in his car after the actor left a restaurant in LA, and Hugh got out of his car and punched him in the face 3 to 4 times. He had to go to the hospital to get stitches on his lip. The man also accused him of grabbing him by the throat and kicking his car. He did end up being charged with a misdemeanor criminal battery, like some others on this list. They should just have like a little club at this point. Alright guys, at number 3 is Lamar Odom. The NBA superstar had a lot of people confused back in 2013 when a video surfaced of him going a little crazy in the streets of LA. Apparently he had an issue with a paparazzo and found his car parked on the side of a street. Lamar didn't didn't care that the street was busy with LA tour buses and residents, and he started to lash out and go through the photographer's car. I guess the pap asked him about his affair on Chloe, and that's when he went berserk. He ended up yelling at the man and took all of his camera equipment out of his car and tossed it into the middle of the street. Like literally in the middle of the road where cars were driving by. It was chaos. It was all of the man's camera equipment, and Lamar took it a step further by going up to it and smashing anything that wasn't already broken. Fans were standing by confused watching the entire thing happen, and at the end of the video a fan asks for a picture with him and he just calmly smiles with her in a selfie. It's like really strange to watch. He was charged with a misdemeanor vandalism charge, but they were dropped after he agreed to pay for everything that he broke. In spot number 2 is Bjork. You wouldn't really expect the singer to be a firecracker, but people were left in shock after seeing footage of her attacking a reporter at the airport back in 1996. The footage doesn't even look real. Honestly, I can't even believe that it happened this way. You have to watch it. She landed in New Zealand with her young daughter, who was also with her when she made the attack. She looked tired and frustrated by the amount of cameras that were swarming her, but the reporter was standing by her car and simply welcomed her to New Zealand. Like literally, she's just said, "Welcome to New Zealand," and that's when she basically turned into the Hulk. She viciously attacks the woman, pushing her to the floor, punching her, pulling her hair, everything. It was literally complete madness. She ended up apologizing to the reporter later on and also released a public apology statement. However, the reporter ended up not pressing any charges. Taking the number 1 spot on our list is Alec Baldwin. He definitely deserves this one. There's too many paparazzi attacks to name when it comes to this actor. We'd probably need a part 2 list dedicated just to him. But his attack in 2013 had people feeling some type of way since he was a new father at the time. That's the thing though, he was super protective of his wife at the time and even more protective of his little girl, which is why he lost it when a pap was trying to take some pictures of the couple and their newborn baby just a day after she was born. Alec ended up attacking him, pinning him to the hood of a car, trying to grab his camera from him, all while punching and kicking him. Photos surfaced which showed the entire attack, and he was charged with misdemeanor battery. This isn't his first charge either. He was also charged after he attacked a pap and smashed his phone on the ground. He has a list of paparazzi battles, all of which he seems to have won. Probably because no one would ever assault the actor since they know that they would lose that case in a heartbeat.
Number 10. Brenda Song. London Tipton was the daughter of the man behind the chain of Tipton Hotels in the sitcom Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. Brenda Song accepted the role right as she was about to start college. Little did she know that that character would consume her life for the next 6 years. She appeared as London on both Zack and Cody and its reboot sequel series Sweet Life on Deck for a total of 6 seasons. Following the show's cancellation in 2011, Brenda starred in a few smaller roles in films like The Social Network, as well as TV roles in shows like Scandal, New Girl, and Superstore. Brenda is still active in the acting community, just in a smaller capacity, as she's traded in her Disney fame for family fortune, starting a family with her boyfriend and fellow child star Macaulay Culkin. Dude, Richie Rich and London Tipton have a child together, and that's not a TV show? Brenda is slowly making her return to the mainstream, however, as she's recently starred in a few Netflix and Hulu series, including the comedy series Dollface, where Brenda claims to have rediscovered her passion for acting. Here's hoping this inspires Disney to make another Wendy Wu movie. And if you don't know Wendy Wu Homecoming Warrior, well, that's fair. Number 9. Shia LaBeouf. Shia has been a controversial celebrity over the years, becoming famous as one of the hardest people to work with in Hollywood history. Like many bad apples in LA, Shia got his start on the Disney Channel. At the turn of the century, Disney released a little show called The Even Stevens. The series followed the titular Stevens family with a focus on the kids, Ren and Louis, played by Christy Romano and Shia LaBeouf. The show is considered to be one of Disney's best, spanning 3 seasons and spawning an Even Stevens movie that is one of the greatest pieces of cinema ever released. These days, Shia has adopted a more mountain man look, always sprouting like a big bushy beard when he can, and he's gone from bright and youthful to just tired and annoyed. And we feel that, Shia. We really feel that. Following the show's end, Shia kept his acting career going strong, appearing in the much-loved classic Holes as main character Stanley Yelnats, but it wasn't until his casting in the live-action Transformers series that he really began to descend into madness. Since 2007, Shia's behavior as both an actor and a person have been getting worse and worse. His fellow actors have reported that Shia takes method acting way too far and just smells terrible on set, not to mention the several public art displays that he gifted the world in the mid-2010s. Oh, and who could forget his passionate motivational video where he just told us that nothing was impossible and just do it! While he may still be working today, his reputation as a celebrity has certainly shifted from A-list to the no-thank-you list. Number 8. Ashley Tisdale. Ashley was making a big name for herself in the Disney world after starring as Candy Girl Maddie on on the sitcom Suite Life of Zack and Cody. Her character is considered to be one of the main reasons that show worked in the first place, so it was surprising to see her suddenly vanish from the acting world in the early 2010s, following the end of the High School Musical trilogy as well as her time with the Suite Life crew. After leaving Disney briefly to film a few raunchy comedies, including the 5th entry in the Scary Movie franchise, she disappeared and fans were confused. Where's Sharpay? Well, turns out she decided to focus on her personal life, and she tied the knot with musician Christopher French in 2014. After building a solid foundation in her relationship, she shifted her focus to a different style of art in the form of cosmetics. Ashley launched the brand Illuminate Cosmetics, as well as a wellness blog called French, which led to her personal care brand called Being French. While she may have lost her name in the Disney sense, she's rebuilt a solid career for herself in other aspects and is actually set to make a small return to the acting world in a new series for CBS called Brutally Honest, loosely based on Ashley's own life. Well, I'm gonna be brutally honest with you, I am watching that show for sure. Number 7, Orlando Brown. That's So Raven. Another series considered to be a part of the golden years, aka the early 2000s of Disney, starred Raven Simone as the titular character, who has the ability to briefly see into the future via unprompted visions. I swear, every time I explain a plot to an old Disney show, I just question like, why did I like this? Who pitched this? The show had a stellar supporting cast, including Raven's best friend Chelsea and Eddie, played by Annalise Vanderpool and Orlando Brown. Orlando's time as Eddie was received well with audiences, and he quickly became a fan favorite for not only his comedic abilities, but his dramatic ability as well. After Raven wrapped up its final season, Orlando's career took a bit of a turn. Surprisingly, he was being casted as small side characters or secondary characters with minimum screen time in film and TV. In 2022, he appeared on Dr. Phil's talk show, opened up about his struggles mentally and financially. He also shocked audiences with his new look. He was drenched in tattoos and sporting a pair of demon eye contacts. Unfortunately, it seems that Orlando has fallen victim to the darker side of Disney, as he was arrested for a misdemeanor after an altercation with his brother. Number 6, Mitchell Musso. Mitch played Hannah Montana's best friend Oliver Oken on the hit Disney sitcom Hannah Montana. When the show was coming to an end, he began dominating the Disney scene, being casted to voice Jeremy in Phineas and Ferb, playing one of the titular kings in the show Pair of Kings, and he was in something called Hatching Pete, which I vaguely remember watching, but I'm pretty sure it's one of those movies that I have like a repressed memory for. He seemed to be on the same track as Demi Lovato as the next big thing to come from Disney. People think that about Demi Lovato, right? Unfortunately, his career came to a screeching halt in 2011 when he was arrested in Burbank, California. He neglected to slow down after being directed by police, and the report said that the moment the window was rolled down, it was like a cloud of no-no juice just drop-kicked him in the nostrils. He blew a BLA of 0.8, which for those of you who don't know means that he was absolutely hammy, bud. He was arrested, forced to participate in a no-no juice educational program, and charged with driving under the influence. Needless to say, that doesn't really go with Disney's vibe. He was recasted on Pair of Kings, his prank show was cancelled, and he was basically blacklisted from Disney entirely. He had also been attempting to start a music career, but that just nosedived into a toilet. If you'd like to find Mitchell these days, just download one of his old songs. You'll be the first one to do it in a while. I'm sure he'll find you. Number 5, Jake Paul. The headline here sounds like a Dr. Seuss title. Jake Paul looted them all. That's right, the famous YouTuber Jake Paul was briefly a Disney star in the early 2010s, appearing on a short-lived sitcom called Bizaardvarks. In 2020, Paul was involved in a looting that took place in Scottsdale, Arizona. A riot broke out in a mall, literally surrounded by police helicopters with lights and sirens, and Jake's reaction? Oh man, we gotta get the cameras, let's go! Video footage was released by Paul himself, showcasing the events of the night. People were smashing windows and taking everything in sight. While Paul posted a statement on Twitter claiming that he had nothing to do with the riots, and they were there exclusively as observers, the video did show Jake interviewing looters in the mall, and of course groups were recognizing him almost immediately. Thankfully, the authorities stepped in to make their move on Jake, who told his fans, "No cap, that's tear gas, bro." Yeah, how is that English? However, that was just the situation Disney needed to finally fire this guy. According to Disney, Jake's reckless public behavior was very well known to them at the time. There had been plans in place to simply address the issue and to learn from it, but following the events in Scottsdale, they had no choice but to just cut ties with the performer immediately. He was charged with criminal trespassing, and while Jake's videos may still rack up millions of views online, he's certainly no celebrity anymore. His defense for the Scottsdale event was that he was documenting it as a quote public service. Well, okay, if I videotape my friend stealing a Star Wars mug from a Hot Topic, is that also a public service? Number 4, Jennifer Stone. Another Wizards of Waverly Place co-star, Jennifer Stone is just another one of those people to lose their fame overnight, but it wasn't due due to anything outlandish. Jennifer played the best friend to Selena Gomez's Alex Russo, Harper Finkel, on Wizards of Waverly Place. Harper was a bubbly and eccentric character, usually wearing some kind of elaborate dress made from something that just shouldn't be a dress. She played the role so well that the writers decided to make her and Alex live together in the later seasons to give Stone as much screen time as possible. Following the cancellation of the show, she was swooped up by another channel that I'm apparently not supposed to say the name of, but it rhymes with Clickalodian, and was casted as the babysitter slash narrator on the show Dead Time Stories. Good old-fashioned horror shows aimed at kids. Huh? Yeah. Are you afraid of the dark, anybody? Huh? Unfortunately, that show seemed to be her last, as following the final season, she's remained fairly aloof from the public eye, appearing in small budget flicks, but she mostly stays at home and takes care of her mental and physical health. Jennifer was diagnosed with diabetes in 2017 and has been participating in public outreach programs ever since. You go, Finkel! Number 3, Ricky Ullman. He was Phil of the future, keeping it together just as best as we can. Sorry, that show had the catchiest theme song of all time. You may recognize Ricky as the face of the hit show Phil of the Future, following the titular Phil and his family struggling to adjust to the year 2000 after their time machine breaks down in the wrong destination. That's right, if you thought the DeLorean from Back to the Future was strange, these guys built their time machine into an RV. If you're gonna build a time machine, why not do it in style? The show was loved, but it was cut short after only 2 seasons on air, meaning that Ricky was just 19 when he was suddenly out of steady work. In an interview with Insider Magazine, he said that he regrets the way he handled the situation back then. The reality was Ricky didn't know how to navigate the world of Hollywood, as he got the role of Phil because he was pressured into attending an audition. He appeared in a few small projects following the show's cancellation, even making an appearance on the hit comedy series Broad City. But nowadays, Ricky just sits in a chair next to his phone waiting for that call to hopefully come. Reboot time, baby. Number 2, Christy Romano. Christy was Disney's go-to girl in the early 2000s, after breaking onto the scene starring as Ren Stevens in the legendary sitcom The Even Stevens. While she may have starred alongside future Transformers star and maniac Shia LaBeouf, it was Christy that stole the show. She played the character effortlessly for 3 seasons before being tapped to lend her voice to another Disney icon. Christy provided the voice of the animated super spy Kim Possible. Following the cancellation of that series in 2011, Romano actually used her new fortune to attend film school and study what goes on behind the scenes. Romano has remained outside the acting world since that time, apart from a starring role on Broadway as Belle in Beauty and the Beast in 2018. Her most recent venture is that of a YouTube blogger, now chronicling her day-to-day life as a mom. She may not be famous anymore, but she will certainly go down as one of the Disney Channel's greatest. And at number 1, Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay is a Disney star who actually never appeared in a sitcom or a TV series. She got her start acting at just the age of 3, starring in over 60 TV spots and commercials from brands like Gap, Pizza Hut, and Jell-O. She got her big break when Disney casted her to play 2 roles in the classic family comedy Parent Trap. She played twin sisters Hallie Parker and Annie James, who randomly meet at a summer camp and discover their parents split them up when they were babies following a divorce. The twins then hatch a plot to get mom and dad back together, and it's really just a delightful movie. Her career only seemed to rise from there, starring in several cult classics like Freaky Friday with Jamie Lee Curtis and Mean Girls as the main character, Katie Heron. Unfortunately, her career took a step in the wrong direction when she was arrested in 2007 for driving under the influence of a controlled substance, for which she served only 84 minutes in jail. Yep, minutes. Some people spend years in jail for less, but Lindsay got a warning. Until 2022, her career was at an abrupt standstill, but she not only seems to be better mentally speaking, but she's also under a new contract with the streaming giant Netflix to release a few rom-com flicks over the next couple of years. So maybe her and Adam Sandler will make like a Netflix multiverse. I don't know how I feel about that.
Number 9, Rihanna. Is it really a shock to learn that Rihanna does not talk to the hired help? Ignoring somebody is one of the meanest things that you can do to a person, making them feel like they do not exist or are not on the same level as you, and they do not deserve to be acknowledged. Most celebrities know not to do this, but others seem to only have a negative setting in their soul. Over the years, it's been said that pop singing sensation Rihanna doesn't even look or speak to her staff. An anonymous source revealed that Rihanna literally refers to the staff as hired help. She also falls asleep when she is getting her makeup done, which must be so great for everybody in the room. Rihanna just snoring in a chair and someone running around being like, it's okay, she's just warming her voice up, guys, it's fine. Rihanna is also known for being pretty rude to her fans as well. One lady won backstage passes for herself and her family, and when they went back to do the meet and greet portion of their tickets, Rihanna didn't even face them and actually asked one of her assistants to come and and sign something for them, sitting in her makeup chair like a Disney villain shooing people away. Number 8. George Clooney. George Clooney is the epitome of class, okay? Just watch his Nespresso commercial with Danny DeVito. These two were meant to be together. He is known to be very charming, especially when meeting fans or appearing at red carpet events. But it turns out that George Clooney is not exactly the easiest man to work for. Apparently, George is a little bit stingy and is extremely paranoid that people will take advantage of him, meaning that he is very untrusting of his staff. According to disgraced former employees who left in shame, Clooney's staff are not allowed to go anywhere near the no-no juice chamber, or cabinet as most people call it. George is reportedly nervous that someone will try to steal a sip of some of his more expensive options. The staff alleged that George would mark his bottles after each use so that he could actually see where the liquid was the last time that he had himself a glass. After each and every use, this man was just whipping out a marker and just notching away and just remarking and remarking. Hey, paranoia is one thing, but that is next level, okay? Just get a little bottle lock or something more complicated. I feel like there are some easy ways to get around that if you really dedicated your time to it. I'm not gonna do that, but someone might. Number 7, Beyonce. Beyonce has 3 simple rules if you work for her on tour. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. And in other words, don't look at Beyonce, don't talk to Beyonce, don't even listen to Beyonce. Maybe not that last one, but you get my point. Beyonce is a massive star now, but even 10 years back, she was considered to be a major diva that felt that she was above everybody else. While she was on tour in 2013, all local staff were advised not to look or speak or approach Beyonce. They were explicitly told that if she was walking down a hall towards them, to find an unlocked room and get in there as soon as possible, out of sight, out of mind. On top of that, everything backstage had to be draped in linen, which then had to be smoothed out after she would walk on it. Now, if that's how rude she was in 2013, imagine what she must be like now. She probably has someone fanning her in a chair between sets, while another person feeds her grapes and does her taxes. Luxury. That is luxury. Number 6, Zooey Deschanel. New girl Zooey Deschanel is known in Hollywood as a lovable, dorky little lady. She's so pure and innocent, and she dated Jim Carrey and Yes Man for some reason. Such a good movie, I'm not gonna bash on it. But it's not just Hollywood that knows Zooey as a lovable dork, her fans do too. There is no way that she would have a mean bone in her body, right? Well, it turns out that Deschanel is actually very rude and reportedly very demanding. While working on the set of the sitcom New Girl, several former staff members claimed that Zooey was constantly making up her own rules on the set and on the show. Being the main character allowed her to voice her ideas, and more often than not, the showrunners would just make it work. One of those rules that she made up was that at the end of each episode, that it had to be her and another character. She's gotta be the last face you see before watching Big Bang Theory again. It's a great show, and if you hate it, you're just trying to be cool. Overall, she is not even close to the worst person on this list, but we gotta include her because she did make a PA quit out of frustration. But they're not considered people, so who cares? I was a PA, I'm allowed to make that joke. Number 5, Kate Gosselin. Kate, who you may know from her reality show Kate Plus 8, is reportedly very mean to the people she employs. In fact, they would go so far as to say that she is a terrible boss. Oh, I'm sorry for my language. A former nanny who worked for Gosselin revealed that Kate made her babysitter's life a living nightmare. Gosselin got famous for being a mother of 8. My mom comes from a family of 9, but you don't see a TV show for the Newfoundlanders. Now that would be good TV. Despite Kate coming from such a large family and having to take care of so many kids at once, she writes guidelines for the people that work for her. According to several of her former employees, most of Gosselin's nannies quit almost immediately after being hired. Some of the demands that Kate had included in the rule books were things like washing her expensive cutlery by hand and never placing them on the kitchen table. You had to just... The rule book also said that the staff would be meant to walk lightly, something that was to be taught to the kids as well. Now, I couldn't figure out what the term walk lightly means, but I'm imagining it means teaching the kids to walk like cat burglars from like a 60s cartoon, but that feels wrong for some reason. Number 4, Victoria Beckham. Victoria is talented in many ways, mainly known for being Posh Spice from the Spice Girls. Despite her larger-than-life persona on stage, offstage she is much more serious and straightforward. Her work ethic is very simple: work and work hard. This method is taught to each and every one of her staff members. A former nanny revealed that Victoria was actually quite rude when it came to being a boss, going on to say that she expected all of her nannies to respond to the name Joe, even if their name wasn't Joe. The logic that some are suggesting is that maybe the Beckhams just didn't want their kids to be confused by the multiple nannies and names. They just needed to stick to one to refer to their staff, right? But at the same time, forcing your nannies to respond to a name that's not remotely similar to their own is very rude and annoying. Number 3, Naomi Campbell. Naomi is no stranger to a fiery tantrum or two. According to many people close to her, she has a short temper and some serious anger issues, so as you can imagine, being on her staff is nothing to celebrate about. Her history of mistreating staff is long and legendary. There were so many choices I could have put in this list. In 2000, Campbell was sued by her assistant Georgina Galanis. Apparently, Campbell whacked Georgina with a telephone in a hotel room and then told her she was going to throw her out of a moving car. She pleaded guilty to the charges, admitting that she lashed out in a fit of rage. In 2004, she supposedly headbutted an assistant, bit her lip, and yanked her to the floor, screaming, "F you, you worthless snitch!" Except she didn't say snitch. This woman cannot keep her hands to herself. She transforms into a UFC fighter every time she gets upset. In 2006, Campbell allegedly went after her housekeeper with a cell phone and just flung it right at her. In the past couple of years, more and more stories of former employees have been released, with the general consensus being that this lady is a menace and needs to take a chill pill. Number 2, Madonna. Madonna's voice is known around the world, but so is the fact that she can be a little bit mean from time to time. Not only have there been eyewitness accounts of her being rude to fans, but she's also a bit stingy when it comes to her staff. A few years back, an anonymous source revealed that when one of Madonna's dancers broke her arm during practice, that instead of being concerned and helping, Madonna had a full-blown meltdown, berating the dancer for being so bad at their job. There were also allegations that she said there shall be no fat country singers in her presence, only she didn't say re-singers. Another source backed these stories up and added that Madonna does not pay very well, but she knows that she can pay people less to work for her for grueling hours because, hey, she's Madonna. There are probably some people out there who would work for a turkey sandwich just to be someone's assistant. White bread with lettuce, please. The source agreed that if there is one common theme with Madonna and her staff, it is that her ego overshadows them and they are supposed to feel lucky to be in her presence. Neither of the sources specified when they quit, but considering the stories, it sounded like they were with Madonna for quite some time. And at number 1, Courtney Love. Singer, actor, and wage thief Courtney Love has a bad habit of not paying her employees. According to some former assistants, she promises big things and fails to deliver on them constantly. In 2010, Love hired Jessica Labrie as her assistant. Courtney allegedly promised her lots of cool things, including bonuses, promotions, a scholarship to Yale, a job on the set of Nirvana's biopic, heck, even a job at Courtney's very own management company. Well, sign me up, man. That's a no-brainer. Only, if something sounds too good to be true, it almost always is. Of course, Jessica agreed to work for Courtney, but Love failed to deliver on any of her promises. There was no job on the Nirvana set, there was no scholarship to Yale, sometimes there wasn't even a paycheck. Labrie eventually sued Courtney for lost wages. Sure, she was mad that she didn't get any of the cool things that she was promised, but her main issue was the $2,000 that she was not paid. During the court proceedings, Jessica revealed that while working for Courtney, she was asked to hire a computer hacker to fake legal correspondence. What shady things did she want to cover up? Number 10, Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan was in the news for a lot of reasons in the early 2010s, whether it was her mental breakdown or her party escapades. The paparazzi was right there, ready to capture every little moment on camera. One night, Lindsay was in a van when it collided with a member of the paparazzi, smashing into the side door. The driver of the car was rushed to the hospital and an investigation took place, but it was ultimately revealed that the only person who was actually at fault was the driver of Lindsay's van. She's famous. Did you actually think that she drove her own vehicles? Despite the paparazzi
paparazzi clearly attempting to photograph Lohan at the time of the crash, like they're the reason it happened. The incident was chalked up to, look where you're going next time. I don't know, the driver of the van, Raymond Ortega, claims that Lindsay didn't even check to make sure that he was okay when he crashed into that car. Hey man, she was just a bit too focused on the man she just hit. Number 9, Kanye West. Kanye may claim to love the paparazzi, but his track record has shown anything but that. In 2013, well before Mr. Yeet canceled himself on Twitter, he was involved in an investigation set in place by the LAPD after it was reported by a paparazzo that Kanye had struck him and a fellow troll, paparazzi, one night at LAX. When Kanye got off a plane, he was being photographed by numerous photographers. So many people were surrounding him. One man named Daniel Ramos was particularly close to Kanye, and he did not appreciate Dan getting in his personal space. A video shows Kanye rushing at Ramos and attempting to grab his camera. Ultimately, the LAPD decided not to press any charges, but the case was referred to a city attorney who filed misdemeanor charges against the rapper. This wasn't the first time that this type of thing had happened to Mr. Yee. In 2008, he was involved in a similar confrontation with another paparazzo. The rapper smashed his camera and was subsequently arrested on charges of felony, and on top of a few smaller charges that forced him to serve 50 hours of community service. Number 8, Britney Spears. As many know, Britney began a downward spiral health-wise in 2007. After her divorce from Kevin Federline, she not only shaved her head, but she went on a rage-fueled rampage across the city, taking down anyone in her path, like Godzilla or something. After being swarmed by photographers at a gas station in LA, she went on a rampage, wielding an umbrella and swinging it at them over and over, and even hitting one of their cars, smashing the window. She also hurled expletives at anyone and everyone who had a camera, eventually launching her umbrella towards the crowd. This was the main incident that landed her in a psychiatric hold, but the paparazzi captured every single moment of it on camera, so the only thing the world saw of her for a bit was this mess. Let's hope she's doing better now. Number 7, Hugh Grant. When people see Hugh Grant, they think rom-com sweetheart, the bad guy from Dungeons and Dragons, or soon it's gonna be Oompa Loompa. That's just a creepy image. Just don't watch that trailer. But anybody with the news in 2008 remembers him as a bean waster. A paparazzo named Ian Whitaker was following Hugh around his neighborhood, trying to snap as many quality pics as possible. Grant noticed him and walked over to ask him to leave. I'm just kidding, he walked over and started kicking the heck out of him. 3 times to be more specific, before he literally kneed him in the groin. He then picked up and opened a family-sized can of baked beans and just chucked it at Ian like he was launching a nade into the battlefield. He then stood over the photographer like a freaking Bond villain and he asked him, "Do you have any children?" And when he said yes, Grant said something that I'm not allowed to say on the internet. It was just that messed up. He's scary. Police were eventually called to his home where he was arrested and charged with, well, he physically kneed a guy. So it was in the most sensitive area ever. If anything, they should have taken him to jail forever. That hurts so much. Number 6, Will Smith. That's right, Will Smith is on this list for slapping someone, but it's not Chris Rock. I just figured we all know about that one. Hey, it's why he was canceled. What are we talking about today? Oh yeah, an incident on the red carpet that left one paparazzo with a big red mark on his face. Will was walking the red carpet at his Men in Black 3 premiere, giving people interviews when a Ukrainian comedian named Vitaly Sejik approached him. A man who is unfortunately famous for being an absolutely disgusting person towards celebrities. He pretended to be a reporter and he began interviewing Will Smith. He suddenly pulled himself towards Smith and he tried to kiss him on the cheek in his mouth, and Will obviously shoved him back and gave him a little, "Hey bud, what the just a little backhand to the face, nothing major, and then he was gone. A team of security following Mr. Smith picked this guy up and carried him away like the little toddler that he was. Who knew Will was practicing for his Oscar slap all the way back then? Number 5, Justin Bieber. Justin is no stranger to the paparazzi. They basically filmed every terrible moment of his adolescence so that he can just go online, Google himself, and cry whenever he wants. Back in 2013, the Biebs was on tour in London when the paparazzi caught wind of his location. They followed him around the city everywhere he went. One day, Justin was trying to get into his SUV when a paparazzo yelled something at him. Probably something gross and rude. Honestly, the video I watched was a little muffled, so who knows? You know how the paparazzi are though. Bieber was about to close the door shut, but he opened it back up and he took a swing and said, "Hey, what'd you say, man? What'd you say? I'll beat the F out of you." And he looked like a child doing it. It's not a great move, but it was understandable as the camera person clearly made contact with Justin before spouting whatever nonsense they were spouting. The photographer tried to press charges, but the cops were just kind of like, excuse me, mate. That's Justin Bieber. What's the point? Unfortunately for the Biebs, memes were becoming very popular in the early 2010s. Thousands of Photoshop pictures were spread across the internet, and Justin cemented himself as a paparazzi go-to, because they were like, he's easy to gaslight, let's do it. Number 4, Sean Penn. This is an older entry, but it's still worth talking about because it's kind of neat. Shortly before his marriage to Madonna in 1985, Sean Penn noticed a helicopter hovering around his Malibu beach home. Once he realized that it was filled with paparazzi trying to snap pictures of him, Sean took matters into his own hands. He walked down to the beach and carved a message out in 20-foot letters that said, "Forget you." Remember that song? Nah, I'm just kidding. It said, "Fuck you." If that wasn't enough of a message for them, he decided to double down by grabbing his personal safety bang bang and fired it into the air. According to guests at their home at the time, Sean came back and said, "I would be very excited to see one of those choppers crash and burn." This guy sounds like a James Bond bad guy. Seriously, he could team up with the other dude. "I would very much enjoy watching you burn, Mr. Bond." This wasn't the first or last time that Sean would get a little bit extreme with the paparazzi. At least those guys were in a helicopter. In 2008, Sean reportedly kicked and punched a paparazzo who was trying to snap pictures outside of a hotel that he was staying at in Beverly Hills. Apparently, the guy went through his trash to get the information on where he was, so got what he deserved. People blasted Sean for being physical, but come on, if someone popped up at your house after finding your information in a trash can, wouldn't you want to kick them too? Number 3, Tobey Maguire. Ever since he first squeezed his face into our lives in the original live-action Spider-Man franchise, Tobey has been seen as a quiet man who gives off a calm uncle vibe. As such, he's been casted in many roles following Spider-Man that leaned into that tendency. You know, Nick Carraway in the film Great Gatsby, and well, that's about the best example I've got. However, as the years went on and paparazzi began swarming Tobey at every opportunity, he's been pegged as an angry man who just hates having his picture being taken. In one video that has since gone viral, Tobey is swarmed by the paparazzi while trying to drive out of a parking lot in LA. He yells at the paparazzi to move after he had politely asked them to, accidentally slamming a door into a cameraman in frustration. Since then, anyone with a camera is seen as a threat to Tobey, so much so that he will either give you the most horrifying glare of your life if he sees you taking a picture of him, or he'll just straight up take your camera away. Like, how mean can you be just to snap someone's phone out of their hand? If you did it with a web though, that would be a different story. Number 2, Nicole Kidman. Nicole Kidman is a wonderful actor, but apparently she does not make a good caution cone. In 2013, she was trying to enter the Carlisle Hotel in Manhattan after returning home from a Calvin Klein show at New York Fashion Week. You know, just your average Tuesday. Suddenly, a notorious paparazzo crashed into Nicole going full speed on his bicycle. In the video, it looks like he tries to make a half-hearted attempt to stop himself, but like, get off the sidewalk, dude! It's not called the side bike! I'm sorry, if I write it, I have to read it. Freelance photographer Carl Wu was lucky this time. Despite knocking her to the ground and her threatening to press charges, the police decided not to arrest him and instead issued a ticket for riding his bike on the sidewalk. They said an accident's an accident, but this dude was literally holding a massive camera and trying to take pictures of Nicole while he was riding a bike. If I jog into someone I was staring down while holding a battle axe, is that an accident or just a clever way to get revenge on the guy who cut me off at No Frills? It was my turn! Nicole walked away with no injuries, and it was revealed that this was not Carl's first interaction with celebrities in such an outlandish way. He ran into Lady Gaga at an awards show the year before, behaving inappropriately to say the least. A Tumblr page was made for Carl called FU Carl Wu, and there is a word that you haven't heard in a bit. Tumblr. In 2023, that's the name of those fancy adult sippy cups. And at number 1, Leonardo DiCaprio. Capping off our list is the Wolf of Wall Street himself, Mr. Leonardo DiCaprio. Leo's had a few run-ins with paparazzi over the years. In fact, in 2014, he fell victim to that Ukrainian prankster that tried to kiss Will Smith. Only this time, the guy decided to snuggle up to Leo's nether regions. But he actually handled that situation pretty well. He laughed it off, and I swear he's mouthing the words, "I love this guy." Well, that guy got tossed out like a napkin, and it's not why he's on this list. The year before, Leo was on his way to meet up with his Wolf of Wall Street co-star Jonah Hill for lunch when he decided to pull a little pranky poo on Jonah. He ran up to him with his phone, screaming like a crazy fan, and it only took Jonah 2 seconds to realize what was going on, but according to him, his Wolf of Wall Street buddy basically gave him a heart attack. He was beyond scared. When the news found out that tiny piece of information that Jonah was a little scared, the paparazzi blew it up into Leo almost takes out Jonah Hill. There was way too much of a scandal caused from what was just a light-hearted, fun moment between friends. Yeah, I know that's not really a crazy one, but I just wanted to end this list on a lighter note.